We'll pass over to Steve Crossman about 20 past 11, and then he'll guide you over to the F1 Grand Prix in Azerbaijan. Such an important part of the season, and always the day every year we do shorten our show, rightfully so. So it makes perfect sense just for 5 minutes or so to check in with our team ahead of it. I think we've managed to chat to everyone involved with F1 in this programme, which I love. Ben Edwards joins us today. Hiya, mate.
Fine. Great to be with you, Colin. Really good.
How happy are you, from a commentary point of view, to have this starting grid? And for those that have missed it, we have the two racers at the top of that title challenge sitting back in 7th and 9th. That's nice for you, isn't it?
It's great fun. I mean, it was such a long qualifying session. It was 2 hours to get through qualifying yesterday. There were so many cars going off. But you're absolutely right, because Oscar Piastri, who leads the championship from his McLaren teammate, that 31 points, Oscar starting 9th. Lando Norris is ahead of him, but only one place ahead effectively on a row. He's starting in 7th. So it's going to be fascinating. And also the Ferraris, which have been showing great pace during practice at Baku. Charles Leclerc's starting down in 10th place and Lewis Hamilton's down in 12th. So there's plenty to look at. But mind you, we've got to think about who's on pole position, who might just disappear.
That's the two things. Let me ask you first of all, because we had it with Hamilton getting a penalty the other week, and it means, okay, it's exciting to see him move his way through. Was it Monza, wasn't it? Yes. So here you've got Norris and Piastri in cars that you will expect to be faster than several in front, which gives you much more to commentate on, much more overtaking you'd imagine. How hard is it on this Baku street circuit to actually move up?
It's possible, but it is a street track, as you say. In some areas, it's very tight, very twisty, very difficult to overtake, but it has a massively long straight. And if you get what they call the DRS zone, so you tuck in behind a car down that long straight, the DRS comes in, and you can overtake going down into the first corner. So it is possible. Another key moment is that both Piastri and Norris, they have fresh medium tyres. That might help them in the race, because quite a few have used those tyres throughout qualifying. It won't make a huge difference, but it may just give them that little advantage to gain a few places. And yeah, they've got a lot of overtaking to do, but don't forget the Ferraris are going to be near them as well, and they're showing good pace. Piastri's car, by the way, a new chassis for today, because he crashed it yesterday. They've had to build it around a new chassis, but no penalties. They've rebuilt it in the same way, so he will still start in 9th.
Now, Ben Edwards, I can do the maths. Maths are pretty much one of my strong points, but I need you to bring all of your expertise to this, because when I look at the maths and I go, well, actually, if Verstappen wins today, he's on pole, and then let's say Norris or Piastri doesn't finish, or they both finish sort of 5th or below, and I look at the gap between 1st and 2nd and 3rd, I start to think, well, hold on a second. There's enough races left this year for it to become a 3-horse race. But you know the races ahead. You know the different kinds of tracks and what suits each car. Is it fanciful to start thinking like that? And is it better just to think of Verstappen as maybe the joker, the spoiler of this year's race, race for the title, rather than a genuine challenger?
Well, that's a really good question. And actually, listening to McLaren Andreas Villa saying that he does feel that Red Bull have made an improvement with the car, and that Max could be a threat throughout the rest of the season. And with Max starting from pole position today, there's a very good chance he's going to win this race. As you say, the gap in the driver championship is still a long way from where Max is compared to the two McLaren drivers. But we've got this last third of the season still to go. And if that Red Bull car is working everywhere, it's certainly working here. We don't know for sure it's working as efficiently as the McLaren everywhere, but I do think this is relevant, and it's important for both Norris and Piastri to still score some decent points here today. They're fighting each other, but they've got to keep Verstappen under control as well, so I think that is an important part.
Is it just about consistency for Max of the car? Is it just, as you say, is it literally just the car maybe not getting consistent enough? If you look, he said half the podiums of Oscar Piastri. He could only be one win behind Norris at the end of today, but it's those podium finishes, finishing consistently high up the point seems to be where he's been undone this year.
Absolutely, but I think that with Max Verstappen, they have made some changes to that car. We saw in Monza how dominant he was. For Piastri and Norris, as you say, the consistency is important, but it was Piastri who kind of made his first big mistake of the season yesterday in qualifying. It's difficult because it was windy, it was a little bit of rain, and quite a few, 6 drivers crashed out different times during qualifying. That's why we got so many red flags. It was really difficult. It's still gusty today, so I don't think it's going to be wet, but it could still be a challenge. Piastri needs to keep it all together with that advantage he's got over Norris, but we shall just have to wait and see when we get into the race.
Yeah. It's exciting, can't wait for it. So we've got Keely Hodgkinson, of course, in Georgia in the 800 metres. Then we'll be with Ben. Thank you so much, sir. Happy days.
Great.
Lovely. So all changed this morning. All the shows melding together into one, which is great.
Last time out, despite playing with 10 players.
So, Hale, thank you very much. We'll keep you up to date. Exactly 10 minutes away from the start of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. You'll be able to listen to full commentary of that uninterrupted on 5 Sports Extra. Here on 5 Live, we'll be spending chunks where we're with the F1, we'll have chunks where we're with athletics. You'll get a bit of everything. But yeah, 5 Sports Extra if you just want the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen starts on pole, then it gets really interesting. So Carlos Sainz has put his Williams on the front row in second. Liam Lawson, Racing Bulls, is third. Where are the title challengers? The World Championship leader Oscar Piastri starts 9th. His McLaren teammate, his only realistic challenger, Lando Norris, will be 7th. All of that tells you that qualifying was chaotic. Let's bring in commentator Ben Edwards, British racing driver Abby Pulling, and correspondent Andrew Benson. You all, Ben, earned your money yesterday after 6 red flags in qualifying.
Yeah, it did go on. It was a long qualifying session, 2 hours. It could well be longer than the race itself. It depends on whether we're going to get any delays in the race, but it was remarkable, and a lot of it was because of the strong wind and occasional rain, and then drivers making mistakes, going off, causing red flags, delays, the track changing as it went back out again, and it was really demanding for everybody. Piastri, championship leader, was one of the 6 who crashed out and caused a red flag, so he's, as you say, starting down in 9th place. Charles Leclerc, he also crashed out. He's been on pole position here the last 4 years. He's down in 10th, but Max Verstappen did a mighty job to take that pole position.
Andrew, do you want to be our weather person before you do anything else? You are multi-talented. How are conditions compared to yesterday?
Very similar, actually, Steve, which means that we could have the kind of harem-scarem incident-packed races we had in qualifying. The wind makes it very difficult here in Baku. You've got buildings, you get sort of a wind tunnel effect between the buildings into the corners. That's why a lot of the drivers crashed yesterday, including Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, of course. So we're going to be watching Norris and Piastri trying to come through. Verstappen, I think, on the face of it, should just dominate the race. After that, who knows what's going to happen.
Abby, take us behind the wheel then. This track, these conditions, what are you expecting?
I mean, you have to really thread the needle around this the streets of Baku here, and it's as you saw yesterday with all the mistakes from these very experienced drivers. I think we're in for an exciting Grand Prix, potentially some stoppages, some safety cars, which can add some alternate strategies from drivers behind, like the likes of Lando Norris and Oscar, who didn't qualify in the position where they've been qualifying all season long. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Why don't we just retread some old ground here, Andrew? Lando, massive opportunity in qualifying because Piastri crashed and then he let it slip. We've been here before. He's great as the underdog, less so when he feels like he's in the box seat.
Well, it was put to him that he'd missed an opportunity, and he said he didn't agree. They just got the timing of their qualifying run wrong, and he did the best he could. He didn't do the best he could. He hit the wall in turn 15 on his qualifying lap. Without that, Andrea Stella, the team principal of McLaren, was saying he was putting up a competitive lap time. I don't know what competitive actually means. I don't think he would have beaten Verstappen, because Verstappen went out a bit later. But he could have done better, and you could see from Piastri's face when he was doing his TV interviews, Norris was doing his qualifying lap while Piastri was doing his interviews. He paused and wouldn't talk until he watched the lap, and then he did this sort of very amusing facial expression, which just goes to it was just like, it was a bit like, just goes to show you, now we've both got to come through. So yeah, he kind of dodged a bullet there, Oscar Piastri, despite crashing. Norris didn't maximise his opportunity, but of course we've got an entire Grand Prix ahead of us. They're starting one in front of the other, Norris in front of Piastri, in a line, with the staggered grid. So normally Piastri races a lot more cleanly and more clinically than Norris does. So there's a lot of jeopardy for Norris in this, with that 31-point championship point deficit at the moment.
Why don't we play a little bit of 4D chess here then, Ben? Because if Lando struggles when there is that expectation and that opportunity, he's now back in the other position where, because of where he's starting and because of how difficult it is to really cut your way through, he's now an underdog again. So weirdly, it now plays to his strengths.
It does in some ways. And funnily enough, last year he started all the way down towards the back of the grid because he didn't get out of Q1, and he still managed to come well up through the order. He didn't quite make the podium, but he scored some useful points. So we know Lando Norris can come through, but he's going to have Oscar Piastri right behind him. We're going to have the two Ferraris pretty close, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, and they've been showing good pace this weekend. But again, a bit like the two McLaren drivers, they were not able to deliver in qualifying. So it is very unpredictable as to what's going to happen. I do rather feel that up front Max Verstappen might make a real blast away into the distance, because everybody else will be fighting so hard for their positions. Mercedes drivers are both well up on the grid, but whether Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are going to be able to fight their way through, that's going to be a massive part of this event.
Just how complicated is it, Abby, to do that on this circuit?
I mean, any street circuit is really hard to race wheel to wheel, and we've seen it even in the junior categories. This morning it rained overnight and it was pretty tough for them. So going forward into the Grand Prix in the Formula One race, it's really cutthroat, and it'll be a lot on strategy, but also there's a lot of opportunities in sector 1, turn 1, 2, 3, really big runs, the 2 DRS zones as well. So it's definitely harder around this circuit, but definitely not impossible either.
What about Oscar Piastri then, Andrew? Because we're used to seeing him right at the business end for every race. How is he as a weaver? Because it's been a long time since he's had to do it.
Well, this race last year, Steve, if you remember, he pulled off an absolutely outstanding overtaking move on Charles Leclerc to win the race, take the lead, and then he defended for the rest of the race when the Ferrari was a quicker car. It was probably the overtaking move of the year. So he can absolutely race. He's done some brilliant racing already this year, winning in Miami, for example. He was very clean in getting past Max Verstappen there to win, whereas Norris was a bit scruffier, lost a lot of time in doing it. So I think one of the most outstanding characteristics he's shown this year is his racing ability. Only 2 weeks ago in Monza, he overtook Charles Leclerc around the outside of the first Lesmo on the first lap in a move I don't think I've ever seen before in Formula One. I'm backing Piastri to move forward. I'm backing Norris to move forward too. The only question in my mind is which one of them is going to move forward further. And I'm tempted to say I will put my money on Piastri.
What do you think, Ben, is the bigger story today? Sainz putting his Williams in second, or Lawson putting his Racing Bulls in third?
Well, they're both great stories, actually. For Carlos Sainz, he's not been in Q3 in the last 9 Grand Prix, and for Williams, it's been a tough year for him. But to qualify on the front row, it's the 15th time in his career he's done that. And as you say, Liam Lawson has done a great job to qualify third, the New Zealander, first New Zealander up that far on the grid since Chris Amon back in 1976. So it's lovely that Liam Lawson, he beat his teammate Isaac Hadjar this time. Hadjar was very frustrated with himself. He was on a good lap and he just got it slightly wrong at the end, and he has qualified down in 8th place. But both of the Racing Bull drivers who are still building their careers in Formula One, they're doing a very impressive job. But let's see what Lawson can do from that 3rd place. Behind him, he's going to have to watch out. He's got George Russell right behind. And just to bear in mind that the other Red Bull driver, Yuki Tsunoda, actually has done a decent job this time. He is 6th on the grid, which is his best qualifying for the Red Bull team. Let's see whether he and Verstappen are both going to do as strong as we expect.
All right, the start of the race is only about 3 minutes away, so we'll be back with the guys shortly in Azerbaijan. Remember, you'll get the whole race on 5 Sports Extra. So we've got the start of a big race there and the end of a big one in Tokyo, Kath.
Yes, we have. The men's 5,000 metre final. There's a group of... 'Cause 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 'cause
2025 Formula 1 Qatar Airways Azerbaijan Grand Prix is about to get underway. Welcome to Sports Extra from me, Ben Edwards, as the cars are setting off on the formation lap. Max Verstappen is on pole position. Interestingly, he's going out on the hard compound tyre as well, different to everyone else. Carlos Sainz on the front row alongside for Williams. New Zealander Liam Lawson in third place with another rookie, Kimi Antonelli, in fourth place for Mercedes. Yuki Tsunoda has enjoyed his best qualifying with Red Bull to start sixth. Lando Norris down in seventh place. Isaac Hadjar is eighth, and championship leader Oscar Piastri, Lando's McLaren teammate, is ninth. Charles Leclerc starts 10th for Ferrari, with former champions just behind. Fernando Alonso's 11th. Lewis Hamilton starts 12th. Brazilian Gabriel Bortoleto starts 13th for Sauber. Lance Stroll 14th for Aston Martin. And Ollie Behrman, who scored here last year at his second ever Formula 1 race, he starts in 15th place. Colapinto, another of the 6 drivers that crashed out in qualifying, he starts 16th ahead of Nico Hülkenberg and Pierre Gasly, while the final row sees an opposite for Williams. Alex Albon's at the back while Sainz at the front, and we've also got a technical infringement in qualifying. Esteban Ocon starts down in 20th position. We're all set for the start of this race as they're on the formation lap. Alongside me is F1 Academy single-seater racing champion Abby Pulling. And Abby, the mix of gusty wind and rain that we had in qualifying has made this very unusual grid, although it is Max Verstappen who is starting from pole. It is a dry surface, still some breeze blowing.
Yeah, from yesterday, the wind is still there. It's still a thing that can add some moments into this Grand Prix, and for sure we saw even the experience of these Formula 1 drivers struggling with it yesterday in qualifying.
And alongside me also, F1 correspondent for BBC Sport, Andrew Benson. Andrew, strategy-wise, there are a few people doing slightly different things already, aren't there?
Including Max Verstappen starting on the hard tyre at the front. He's obviously aiming to go long, giving himself some wriggle room with strategy if there are safety cars and crashes and so on. The 2 McLarens in 7th and 9th have new medium tyres to go on, which no one else really does in the top 10. So that's an advantage for them as they try to move forward from their grid positions.
So that is interesting. It does both make sense to me, actually. It makes sense to me that Red Bull have put Max Verstappen on the hard tyre because he's got this pole position. As long as he can get off the grid well, of course, that's going to be important. He's up against Carlos Sainz and Liam Lawson, who will be on the medium tyre. And in theory, a medium tyre will be slightly quicker off the line.
Yeah, but Max has the confidence that even on the hard compound, he can really stretch it away from Carlos Sainz and Liam Lawson with that tyre advantage.
Well, the cars are moving into position. Just quickly go through again. It's Verstappen and Sainz on the front row. Lawson and Antonelli on row 2. Russell and Tsunoda on row 3. Norris is back on row 4 with Isaac Hadjar. Piastri on row 5 with Charles Leclerc. Then Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton together on row 6. Bortoleto and Lance Stroll on row 7. Ollie Behrman and Franco Colapinto on row 8. And then we get right down towards the back with Nico Hülkenberg and Pierre Gasly on the penultimate row. And on the final row, we have Alex Albon, who did a great job here last year. He finished in 7th place. It's the only time he scored points here in Baku. And at the back, he had a technical issue which has put him right down to the back. Esteban Ocon, although he wasn't particularly far up in qualifying anyway. And in the fact that he started from the pit lane the last 2 years here, Esteban Ocon, he seems to be getting used to starting from the back. Flags are waving. We're all set for the Grand Prix to get underway. Lights out, away we go, and Max Verstappen, no surprise, makes a very, very good getaway. Carlos Sainz slotting into second. Tsunoda trying to fend off Lando Norris as they go through the first corner. Lando Norris trying to go around the outside and still trying to go around the outside as we go into the second part as well. But it is an easy, demanding start from Max Verstappen so far.
Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, he's in last place. He had an awful start off the line. I think maybe even went into anti-stall.
Oh my goodness, George Russell down the inside of Yuki Tsunoda, and Tsunoda could not do anything about that. Max Verstappen is the leader. Carlos Sainz in second place. Liam Lawson holding on to third. But that is a big, big story that you've said there. Oscar Piastri dropping right down at the back. The championship leader, he is surely going to be losing some points, but we shall have to wait and see. There's a long, long way to go in this race. Lando Norris is currently in 8th place. He is being hunted down by Charles Leclerc. Oh, and out! He has gone out, Oscar Piastri. crashed out again, as he did in qualifying, and it's the first non-finish of the year for Oscar Piastri, who has a 31-point lead. That is not going to be the case, presumably, after this race.
That is absolute disaster. He didn't get the launch, and I think got involved with a lot of the kerfuffles happening at the back and in the wall, similarly to qualifying. I mean, this is where Lando really needs to take the opportunity as the safety car has come out for that incident.
My goodness, we will get a look in a moment, and that is so surprising that he got off the line badly, that he's crashed into the barrier. This is a weekend to forget for the man who won here last year. Right, Abby, let's have a look. This is the incident. He was already way down the list, as you mentioned, off, but he then gets it wrong. Yeah, he just locks up the brakes. That was purely his own mistake.
Yeah.
Listen.
Oscar, are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't say anything else. I'm not surprised.
Very, very uncharacteristic from Oscar this weekend. It's one mistake after another.
That was into turn 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, actually, Abby's right. The mistakes date right back to practice. He's had a scrappy weekend altogether, right from the start of Friday. But, I mean, this is extraordinarily large for the championship. 31 points he had as an advantage going into it with 8 races to go. He was comfortable. He could, he was in, not cruise control almost, but he was in control of the championship. No real pressure or stress, you would have thought. But he's driven this weekend like a stressful driver under stress. Don't know what happened at the start. We haven't seen a replay there. But he was right at the back of the field when he tried that move. He was trying to go around the outside of Esteban Ocon into turn 5, just got onto the dirty part of the track and understeered straight up into the barrier like he did in qualifying yesterday. Now Lando Norris, who's actually lost position back down to 8th place off the start, he's got a golden opportunity to eat into Piastri's lead. Can he take it?
Early stops from the two at the back of the grid. Interestingly, they may be going for a different strategy here, using safety car, because you lose less time in the pits, obviously, when you make your pit stop, and they have just changed onto different tyres, and they have come back out. So that's Esteban Ocon and Alex Albon. They're taking a bit of a gamble, but it's probably worth it under safety car.
Yeah, opting to put the mediums on, and they're going to try and take them, I would assume, to the rest of the race and seeing if they can last all 51 laps on that tyre. But not only for the Drivers' Championship, it's the Constructors' Championship as well. They could have won the championship this weekend for the Constructors, and that has really made it quite impossible.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's very unlikely they will win the Constructors' Championship, McLaren, today. They're still hugely ahead of all the other teams, and it's very likely they are going to win it very soon. But we expect they might win it this weekend. As you say, it's looking less likely. Max Verstappen, he's in command, of course, having got off the line very well on those hard tyres.
And talking of Max Verstappen, we were talking about the maths yesterday and how unlikely it was that Verstappen could catch Piastri because of the averages. It was 12 points on average per race. Now he's going to get 25 points probably, Verstappen. That's going to reduce the gap from 96 by 25 points. I can't do the maths in my head there. Was it 71? Then suddenly, no wonder McLaren are worried.
Oh,
here we are.
He actually moved, didn't he? Before he went, he actually moved a little bit and then stopped and then couldn't get going.
Yeah, Oscar finding the biting point. He jumped the start, so that would have been an instant penalty, but then he stopped fully. Everyone comes past him, and he's by that point he's at the back trying to catch up to the pack.
My goodness, he really has had a bad weekend after being so efficient throughout the course of the season so far. This is one he has to forget. For Max Verstappen, it was a very, very good start. Carlos Sainz going in clear second place. Tsunoda, as I mentioned, missing out on the place to George Russell. There weren't any other major changes down that order, although there was a good little battle going on with Bortoleto trying to come through with Alonso.
Actually, Lewis Hamilton's made up some ground. He's from P12 up into P10, right behind his teammate Charles Leclerc. So he made the most of, as we're going on board now with Oscar Piastri, goes into anti-stall as he's jumping the start, and then, he's just a sitting duck going into turn 1.
Yeah, and he got through turn 1 okay. We're just having another look at a start at the moment that took place. Oh, for Fernando Alonso, he was right behind Piastri, and well done to Fernando, because one of the scary things is when you start and the car in front of you stalls or stops. He did that well.
To be honest, I think Fernando there jumped the start as well. It was a knee-jerk reaction to what Oscar Piastri did,
right.
And he's jumped the start as well, so definitely a penalty coming Alonso's way for that. No hiding from it.
Okay, that's an interesting point. And then we saw Piastri just lock up the brakes. He had come through the previous sector, turns 3 and 4, and then are under a shortish straight here, under braking. He's trying to go around the outside. There's just very little grip, but he just locks the left front completely.
Yeah, it potentially from the, as we see, Andrea Stella absolutely distraught, but potentially from the white line, the lockup starts as he's on the white line going in, so potentially that is created the lockup and for him to sail on into the barrier.
We're seeing it again from Pierre Gasly, who was behind him. Bosh, and Pierre just was taking a normal... Oh, I hadn't realised that there was also an issue for Ocon, wasn't there?
Yeah, Ocon with Nico Hülkenberg actually there, making contact to the rear left of Ocon. They're going side by side through 5 and 6. Hülkenberg getting bottlenecked and hitting the back of the Haas.
Talking of Ocon, by the way, it might sound insignificant now, but he's been into the pits twice. He's gone onto the medium tyres initially and now onto the hard tyres again, so he doesn't have to stop again. So he definitely will now be going to the end without stopping Esteban Ocon. So
that's interesting.
It could bring him up the field quite a long way, actually. It's a strategy that... the other way around from the strategy that Haas did in Zandvoort when they ran really long, hoping for a safety car, and then got one, and then it ended up in the points as a result. So let's keep an eye on Esteban Ocon. He's not going to win the race, but he could get into the points.
Wasn't it 2 years ago Ocon with Alpine took a tyre all the way to the very last lap and then boxed, and there was that big drama in the pit lane?
There were people in the pit lane, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and there was an apology afterwards. There shouldn't have been so many people in the pit lane when he made that late pit stop. But as you say, Ocon will now not need to make a pit stop. I mean, it doesn't mean he won't, but he does not need to because he has swapped tyres. He will be, of course, at the back of the group, but he was at the back anyway, so it doesn't make any difference because they're under safety car. They'll all be gathered together when we get the race underway once again. And for Ocon, well, he's done his pit stop. Now he just continues to race for the rest of the Grand Prix. So Max Verstappen is leading as we are under the safety car in this early stage, but the big news, of course, is that Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, is out. He's not going to be scoring any points. His main rival is Lando Norris. I mean, we cannot say that Verstappen, it's impossible for him to win the championship this year. He is a long way down, but as Andrew was saying, the fact that Piastri is not going to be scoring at all today, it will allow Max a real chance to close that gap. But Norris, down in 8th place, he'll be very focused on getting as many points as possible to close up the 31 gap to his teammate. I
mean, for Oscar Piastri, this has been a really poor weekend, and he's really going to suffer for it. We're just getting an indication from race control that Abby's absolutely right. They've noticed Fernando Alonso move before the red lights went out at the start, so it looks like he will get a penalty. I think probably 5 seconds, probably. Anyway, back to Piastri. But from a neutral's point of view, this is brilliant because he was comfortable and Norris was comfortable in 2nd place. Verstappen was a long way behind. Suddenly Verstappen is going to make, unless something goes wrong for him, we would expect him to make a big step forward in the championship. Norris, let's wait and see how much ground he can make up. He hasn't made any so far, in fact he's lost a place. And then we're just coming through the castle section of the lap, but the safety car will end when they come to the end of this lap and racing will get going again.
Right, it's going to be exciting. Yes, Norris in 8th place. You only get 4 points for 8th place, but I think we'll be seeing Norris get more points than that. But he has got, some rapid people behind him. Charles Leclerc in 9th, Lewis Hamilton in 10th. Strategy is going to be an important part of it. You're listening to the safety car, very different engine sound, of course, from the safety car, but it is with the lights out on the safety car. It will be heading in. Now it's up to Max Verstappen to control the pace. He has slowed it down, and it's up to him to decide when he's going to go for it. He's being followed, of course, by Carlos Sainz, an experienced racer himself. These two were teammates when they first started in Formula One.
It always looks weird a restart here in Baku, doesn't it? Because basically they crawl up the straight for as long as they dare until the last minute, because what they don't want is to get slipstreamed by the rival behind them.
That's very true. So we are waiting for Verstappen to go for it at the moment. Abby, where do you think he's going to go for it?
Well, he's weaving at the moment through 18, 19, but by turn 20, I believe they've got to stop weaving, so that will be important for him to remember. I imagine he'll go as close as he can to the start-finish line as possible, because he wants to make that run into turn 1 as short as possible.
That's a very good point, because otherwise he gives such a good tow, as Andrew was saying, to the car behind, and not just one car, but maybe another one can dive through. Liam Lawson currently in third. Kimi Antonelli still ahead of his teammate George Russell. They are fourth and fifth at the moment. Yuki Tsunoda in sixth place. Isaac Hadjar seventh. Lando Norris is currently eighth, ahead of Leclerc and Hamilton. Here we go. Max Verstappen picks it up. We are underway once again at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and Max Verstappen has made a very good start, and it's actually Carlos Sainz who's under a bit of pressure from Liam Lawson, and in the background the two Mercedes drivers are absolutely side by side through turn one, and Russell has lost out as a result of that, I believe, because he was trying to go alongside his own teammate.
Norris has also lost out to Charles Leclerc on that restart. He's now down to 9th place.
My goodness, it's not working well for either of the McLaren drivers so far, is it? But Verstappen getting away cleanly. Sainz still in that control second. As you say, Norris is battling away with Leclerc, but he's got to watch out because he's got Hamilton behind him as well.
Yeah, under a lot of pressure now into turn 4 and 5, really struggling. Lando, he was miles behind on the restart. It was like he was just caught sleeping, and Charles took the opportunity.
So George Russell losing out to Tsunoda again, having gained the place of that original start, trying to go side by side with his own teammate. That did not work for him. Lando Norris defending from Lewis Hamilton. Behind Hamilton we have Fernando Alonso, but we do know that Alonso is going to have a penalty for that start. As you said, got rolling. Bortoletto's running in 12th place, Colapinto in 13th, Lance Stroll 14th, and the top 15 completed by Nico Hülkenberg at this stage. One car out, of course, that is Oscar Piastri. But Lando Norris is now putting pressure on Leclerc.
Confirmation, Ben, we've got a 5-second penalty for Fernando Alonso. He'll have to take that at his first pit stop.
So on lap 5, it's Max Verstappen who leads from Sainz and Lawson. Let's go back to Radio 5 Live. Here on Sports Extra, we are continuing with the Grand Prix, and Max Verstappen is still our race leader. We've got a 5-second penalty for Fernando Alonso for that start, but he is still going to be fighting all the way through here. Now, are we going to see Lando Norris? No, he's actually under a bit of threat here, isn't he? Lando Norris challenging with Hadjar.
Hadjar's actually dropping like a fly.
Yeah.
Leclerc has gone past, now Norris, and now he's under pressure from Hamilton as well going into turn 2.
Absolutely, so I don't quite know where the pace has gone for Hadjar. Whether they don't have the straight line speed, I'm not sure, but he's definitely struggling, isn't he?
I mean, going to the grid, he was actually complaining of hydraulic issues, and as Hamilton now around the outside of turn 4, really authority has been put down, but he doesn't manage to make it stick.
There's another incident that's being looked at, Hülkenberg and Ocon incident that's being investigated as well. But right now, as you say, Hamilton hasn't quite managed to get past Hadjar, whereas that group of cars has. So we've now got Leclerc in 7th place, ahead of Norris in 8th. Hadjar's dropped down to 9th, and then it's Lewis Hamilton in 10th position. Let's have a little look back here at the restart from onboard Charles Leclerc as it all got going again. And Leclerc was right behind Lando Norris. Went one way, then the other. Let's see what he did into turn 1.
Yeah, but Lando Norris, he's got a massive gap to the cars ahead. It's easy for Charles. He can just go around the outside. It was as if Lando didn't even know that the start was happening.
That was surprising indeed, as you say. So Charles Leclerc gaining the place. Let's listen to Russell. He was not happy. That was basically as what came out when they were side by side with his teammate Antonelli as they went through turn 1, and I think he felt that Antonelli didn't give him enough space on the exit, but it looked like a racing incident to me pretty much.
I mean, there was no contact made. It was very clean. He just got quite close to the barrier on the exit, as we see George putting Yuki Tsunoda under pressure. He's made a great start up to P5, Yuki Tsunoda, but he's under a lot of pressure from George.
But fastest laps just gone to Antonelli. That's impressive. So Kimi Antonelli is 4th at the moment, and he's just set fastest lap. We're listening on board with Lewis Hamilton at the moment. He is still trying to get past Isaac Hadjar. Hamilton down in 10th position. Fernando Alonso behind him with that penalty. But Hadjar, who lost several places, but now trying to fend off Hamilton. Meanwhile, George Russell, as you say, is really putting some pressure on Yuki Tsunoda, isn't he?
Yes, no, he's not giving him a breath, but into this middle sector now, it's really tight and windy as we hear Alonso.
They were being given a 5-second time penalty for jumping the start. 5-second time penalty.
Yeah, stopping. Yeah.
I react to Piastri, sorry.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you spotted, Abby, is he reacted as Piastri moved before the lights went out, and he reacted. That is quite a natural thing as a racer, so actually it's a sort of instinct almost. When you see one go, you go, but you should be keeping an eye on the lights, of course.
But even with the experience from Fernando, he should kind of know better.
Yes.
He's done quite a lot of starts in his time, so I'm surprised to see that from him. But still following the battle of George Russell behind Max Verstappen, going into the final sector now, where it provides a few more opportunities for overtaking.
It's a good point. 418th Grand Prix he's done. So all those Grand Prix he's done over his remarkable career, you think he might have learned, but things happen. Things do go wrong. We've got a yellow flag. Oh, no, it's just very brief. It's gone green once again. Verstappen leads by 1.3 seconds, which gets him out of the DRS zone from Carlos Sainz. So there's an opportunity here for Verstappen to escape on the hard tyre. But here's another chance for George Russell. No, he's not quite close. Meanwhile, Lando Norris battling, Lewis Hamilton battling with Hadjar, and Norris was very close there to Leclerc. So Hamilton has got past Hadjar. I wondered whether Norris was going to have a bit of a challenge there with Leclerc, but he didn't quite make it.
I almost don't know where to look. There's battles all up and down the field with Antonelli and Lawson, Russell and Tsunoda, Leclerc and Norris. It's absolutely hectic out there at the moment. I mean, they're doing an amazing job keeping it all on track, but I imagine we're going to see Liam Lawson pretty soon coming under a lot of pressure from Antonelli.
So Hamilton with the DRS, that was actually a fairly straightforward pass. He was down the inside. Hadjar tried to fight him. Actually, that was brave from Hadjar. Thankfully, he didn't try and fight too hard because Hamilton had the line.
Yeah, but I mean, Hadjar is just dropping like a stone, whereas Lawson is keeping decent pace, but I think maybe with the hydraulic issues, he said going to the grid, he's suffering with that a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. So that could be a problem for Isaac Hadjar. Let's see whether he's going to be able to score points. He's been very impressive in recent races, there's no doubt about it. As things stand at the moment, McLaren Mercedes still with a good lead in the Constructors' Championship, but it's not going to be enough the way the points go at the moment for them to win at the Constructors' Championship here. The Championship for the Constructors will continue to the next race at Singapore. And of course, what we all are also very focused on is what's going to happen in the Drivers' Championship. Piastri will score 0 points here this weekend. Where will Lando Norris get? Well, right now, he's actually dropped a little further behind Leclerc.
Yeah, he's really struggling to get close. As we see George Russell looking up the inside of Tsunoda, not managing to make the move stick.
Fastest lap for Verstappen on this lap, so on the hard compound tyre, whereas the ones just behind him are on the medium. He's already setting fastest lap. That's impressive, and we will see Verstappen go very deep into this race before he has to make a pit stop. So he's in a very good position right now, Max Verstappen. Sainz is still in second, Lawson in third, Antonelli doing a great job, the youngster for the Mercedes team, who's had a bit of an up and down time, but he's in fourth place. Yuki Tsunoda under massive pressure from George Russell, and George is trying to find a way through, and we're actually listening in to George's Mercedes right now as he goes through a section at Baku where they're about to go up the absolute narrowest, tightest section into the old part of the city. It's a beautiful area, but it's impossible to overtake. You've just got to get through their very narrow section.
I mean, it's about a car width wide, so for them to even get through there, let alone try and overtake, is pretty much impossible. The big overtaking places is Sector 1 and Sector 3, so for them to try and do anything there, it's all about maintaining that position, trying to stay within the DRS zone to open up the opportunity then down to the run to turn 1.
And you're right, because we're now coming down to that area that does matter, Sector 3. That's where he needs to be close. So he goes down into turn 16, which is the last corner you actually brake for before you go onto the flat out section. You've got some curves to go through, absolutely flat out. This is where he needs to be a bit closer. He will get DRS, but he's quite a long way back. Mind you, I'm going to keep an eye on it, because I remember when Oscar Piastri passed Leclerc last year, he did it from a long way back, further back than I could possibly imagine. But the straight line speed of that Red Bull that Yuki Tsunoda's in, even though George now catching as they go into turn 1, that straight line speed is just enough for Tsunoda to hang on for the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we hear George Russell come on the radio, as he normally does, saying that Yuki's moving under the braking, as he's doing as much as he can to make that Red Bull as wide as possible, going down the second DRS zone, up down to turn 3. line astern.
Here's a chance. Russell's on the outside. Oh, that's an unusual place to overtake, but he actually did that beautifully with a late break, and George Russell has gained that position. He's back up into 5th place. So Mercedes are now running 4th and 5th. They're on different tyres. Antonelli, his teammate, is on the medium compound. Russell is on the hard compound, which actually Tsunoda's on as well. And of course, we know Verstappen is. Abby, talk us through that again.
Yeah, I mean, it's going into the DRS zone, going down into turn 3. He manages to get the slipstream into the braking zone and makes it look easy. The overlap speed was enough for the Mercedes to take it with ease.
I was surprised Tsunoda didn't fight that harder with a bit more late braking, but maybe he just feels that he hasn't got that confidence in the car and he just wants to get to the finish in the points, and he's on these hard tyres. He will, but so is Russell, so they will both be making later pit stops. Behrman being told there might be some rain in the next 20 minutes. That could make life even more challenging. By the way, Esteban Ocon, who has already done his pit stops and changed tyres, he is still last in 19th place behind Alex Albon. They've not been able to make any progress down at that bottom end, but it's still a group altogether, so we'll see later on when people have to start making pit stops. It depends how well the medium tyre lasts. I think it's going to last quite a long time, and Sainz and Lawson, who are 2nd and 3rd, and Antonelli in 4th, they are all on the medium compound, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I believe the medium compound is expected to be the pit window to be around lap 16 to 22, so we're getting closer to that. We're on lap 11 right now, but yeah, for sure it's going to be hard for them to keep pushing along on that medium.
Well, we're at a stage here, Andrew, where everybody now just getting a feel for the car and seeing whether they can use DRS to gain a place or two.
We are, and we've got a very tasty battle brewing here with Yuki Tsunoda now having been passed by George Russell. He's got Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton in line astern behind him. 4-car battle for what at the moment is 6th place. Tsunoda's looking a bit vulnerable.
Keep on top of management. You know our plan for the day.
Well, yeah, Verstappen doing a good job at the moment, I have to say. He's got this 2.5-second advantage, and of course the team are just keeping an eye on the progress. Sainz in 2nd, Lawson in 3rd.
See, he's not walking away from Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz is still only 2.7 behind the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, and you'd think he would have been off in the distance, but actually he's just managing his tyres. He knows he's got everything in hand.
And I think that makes sense, Andrew, because this is a track where we get the safety car quite often. So if you push too hard too early and then your tyres are not very strong later on after a safety car, then you're in trouble, aren't you?
Yeah, it's about giving yourself flexibility. The hard tyres first stint means going long fundamentally. So you need to give yourself the ability to go as long as you need to go, depending on how the race unfolds. We don't know how the race is going to unfold yet, obviously. So that's why in the first few laps, when the car's fat with fuel, just over 100 kilos of fuel the cars start the race with, he will have been taking it easy with the tyres, and that's why he didn't pull away from Sainz very much in the first few laps. But he's just beginning to pull away now at about sort of 3, 4, 5 tenths a lap. So I think he's very much in control, Max Verstappen, and he's just easing his way, building a bit of a gap and making sure he's in the best position he can be as the race comes to him later on.
Now there are a couple of people coming under pressure. Tsunoda once again, we saw him get passed by George Russell, but he's now got some of the most talented drivers right behind him, because he's got Charles Leclerc, he's got Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton right behind him. But there's another battle going on, potentially for a podium finish too, isn't there?
Yeah, Kimi Antonelli is liking his chances here in P4 at the moment, chasing down the Racing Bull of Liam Lawson. He's right behind him, right under the gearbox, going around now into the middle sector, trying to get as close as possible to open up that opportunity later on in the lap. But he's looking like he's really lining up his chances going now for the later stages of the lap.
Absolutely. Well, let's see how this goes for him. At the moment, Liam Lawson's doing a good job, and we'll see if he's going to be able to get one of his best ever results here this weekend. His best ever finish has been a 6th place finish, and the 23-year-old from New Zealand is certainly putting together a decent show so far, but it is early days, and there's no doubt that Antonelli is getting that little closer, although it's just dropped down to a fraction over 1 second. And in the meantime, we're also going to be watching whether Yuki Tsunoda, running in 6th place in the 2nd of the Red Bulls, his teammate Max Verstappen obviously leading, but Tsunoda under pressure from Charles Leclerc, and Leclerc loves this Baku circuit. He's never won it, and last year we thought he might well win it. He was leading it until Piastri got past him. Piastri was so strong here last year, and yet it's all gone wrong for him. on this occasion, and a very important time when he's trying to get the Drivers' Championship sorted out before we get to the end of the season. But, well, it's not been a good weekend for Piastri. Russell now actually setting a very good lap and staying close to his teammate, so we still might see a battle between the two Mercedes teammates.
Yeah, but for sure that's why Kimi wants to cover his back and get by Liam Lawson. He's being held up now by Liam, but he made the mistake of running out of the DRS zone. The DRS point is obviously 1 second. You've got to be within 1 second to be able to activate that drag reduction system, and he didn't give himself the opportunity going into turn 1, which is going to hamper him because Russell is really fast now, romping up to the back of him. He's now within a second of his teammate.
Yeah, so that could be very tight. Slightly behind Russell, of course, is Yuki Tsunoda, who is fending off Charles Leclerc at the moment. And the thing is that Leclerc and Norris are both on the medium compound tyre. So as we're getting into this lap 13, you would think, especially as you were saying, when the pit stops are due for the medium, the medium tyres might just be going off a little bit. We're just looking at Ollie Behrman, and Ollie there has made a move on Alex Albon. He's made it on Behrman, hasn't he?
Yeah, Behrman on, I think it was Pierre Gasly. Really, really close, actually, on the exit to the barrier. Almost skimming the barrier there for the British driver. Yeah,
so Behrman in 16th. So, yes, Ocon's still down at the back on that hard tyre. But Behrman in 16th place, Gasly 17th, Albon is in 18th place. We've still got just the one that hasn't managed to make it to the end. Carlos Sainz is still in a very comfortable second place at the moment, but we have got the two Mercedes drivers getting closer and closer. So Antonelli in 4th place has now got George Russell right behind. There was a moment between them earlier where, as you said, there wasn't actually contact, but they were so close that Russell lost a place as he was trying to get past his teammate. Meanwhile, further back, Colapinto under a lot of pressure right now as well from a whole group of cars.
I would be surprised, actually, the Mercedes battle that's going on here if they release Russell to try and attack Lawson, because he's got so much more pace on his teammate that can't quite make the momentum to get past Liam.
No, absolutely. So Colapinto is in 13th position right now for Alpine. He's being chased by Lance Stroll and the Aston Martin. Of course, Fernando Alonso is still the Aston Martin slightly further ahead, but with that penalty that we will see when he comes into the pits. Now, just riding on board with George Russell at the moment, listening into him as he gets closer and closer to the back of Kimi Antonelli. Only the second time this year that George Russell's been out-qualified by his teammate, but he looks very determined to try and get back through. And he has been on the podium twice in the last 3 years here at Baku, so it is a circuit that George Russell has had some good results. He was a little bit fortunate to get the podium last year, in that there was an incident late on between Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez, almost on the penultimate lap, and that gave an opportunity for Russell to get the podium. But I think he feels he definitely has a chance here. He's currently in 5th, close behind his teammate, and they've got Liam Lawson only just ahead, currently in 3rd.
Yeah, now with DRS open as they go down to T1, Antonelli close enough to try and make a move on Liam Lawson into the braking zone. We'll see as they're coming down a dive bomb. No, not quite. He looked for it, but not quite. They're really, really being hampered now by the racing bull of Liam Lawson.
And Antonelli needs to be wary, because if you make a move like that, as he did, it's lost him just a tiny bit of ground, not much, but it's got Russell even closer behind him. So he does have to be wary. We're listening on board with Alex Albon. He's got a run on Pierre Gasly, DRS in play, down the start-finish straight into turn 1 with the inside line. And yes, Albon has gained a place at last. He is quick round here, but that crash he had yesterday actually was in that corner that thankfully he's just gone past the man he's been racing against.
Yeah, as we're now watching again the battle between this trio, Liam, Antonelli and George Russell, really, really trying to make any opportunity. It's almost who doesn't blink, who blinks first, wanting to try and force each other into a mistake.
Yeah, so 0.6 of a second is all we have at the moment between Kimi Antonelli and George Russell. And Kimi Antonelli, the 19-year-old who has had some ups and downs so far this year, but does have a lot of talent, there's no doubt. Toto Wolff was a little bit critical of the errors that he made last time out at Monza. He finished in 9th place, having qualified 6th. But he did a good job in qualifying yesterday, Antonelli, because it looked at one point as though he wasn't going to get through into Q2 even, but he did make it. And then in the final part of qualifying, he put together a very good lap. But he is coming under pressure now as we go into the DRS zone, just about to go into the DRS zone. Russell is that little bit closer. Let's just see here. He has got DRS himself, Antonelli, because he's close enough to Lawson. So I think that's going to prevent Russell, to get close enough.
Yeah, exactly. Just a DRS train forming now here, we're making it so Antonelli can defend his position, but it's really, really getting on George Russell's nerves now as we're going on board with Lance Stroll, the Aston Martin driver, going down to turn 1, putting Franco Colapinto under pressure, but it's not enough.
Interestingly, Ben, at that battle for 6th place I was talking about earlier between Tsunoda, Leclerc, Norris and Hamilton's dropped a long way back. He's 3.1 seconds now behind Lando Norris, so I wonder if he's struggling in that Ferrari. I was just watching Alex Albon in the pits.
Yeah, we're not on a safety car or anything, so that's quite an early stop. 2.4 seconds, reasonable, but not the best that we've seen so far this year. And Russell is continuing the battle. So let's just think about what's been going on here. Max Verstappen, taking a very good start from pole position, has taken command of this race. Carlos Sainz started on the front row. He's some 4.7 seconds behind Verstappen. Listen to Russell.
I think I've got a tyre advantage to get past Lawson.
Copy that, George.
Now, that's something he's telling his team, of course, because he wants the team to therefore say to his teammate, who's just ahead of him, let him through, because he's got tyres, and they are on different tyres. To be fair, they are on different tyres. Just quickly to confirm, I was saying Sainz second. Lawson is currently third. That was from the start. Antonelli and Russell, they've had a little bit of battle. Russell has regained it. But, he's on a different tyre, isn't he?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought Russell might start doing, saying, actually, I think I can get past. But, Kimi Antonelli and Liam Lawson on an old medium, whereas Russell's on the hard tyre. It's got a bit more life in him. Really, really thinks he has the pace to make this ground up.
No change down the line there. Tsunoda is still in 6th place. Charles Leclerc is in 7th. And then Lando Norris, 2nd in the Drivers' Championship. He's still in 8th place, ahead of Lewis Hamilton and Isaac Hadjar. But just bear in mind, we do not have Oscar Piastri in this race anymore. He crashed out on the opening lap after a bad start, and that has meant that he will score nothing here today. It's a question of what Norris can maybe close up on, and Verstappen to a certain extent too. Now, we're just having a replay of Esteban Ocon, who has gained a position.
Yeah, Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, old teammates, going into turn 2, and we see Lewis Hamilton potentially why he's lost so much time going into turn 7, actually just having a lock-up and losing all that ground. So there's the answer to your question there, Andrew.
Yeah, but he didn't hit the barrier, which, of course, yesterday we were seeing people hit the barriers all the time in qualifying. I'm surprised we haven't actually seen more people hit the barriers yet, except for Piastri. And actually, we've got a view of Piastri, who is sitting by the track watching the race.
Looks like he might be stuck there.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a street circuit, it's really hard to get around the track sometimes, and usually the drivers have a way of getting back. There's a scooter, so he could probably choose to go back if he wants to. But I don't blame him, because if he goes back, he's just going to be going to the media pen, and he probably doesn't want to do that right now.
Absolutely. Oh no, we've had an incident, and now off goes Pierre Gasly. And that
was Colapinto.
Oh, sorry, it was Colapinto. Yeah, it was Colapinto. Yes, it was Franco Colapinto. Albon was trying to get past, and they touched, and it had spun him around. Although he's got going again.
Yeah, put him into a pirouette there. It was nothing too major, but not ideal for Franco Colapinto. Got flat spots on his tyres.
Yeah, well, let's see how he can come back. This is the group that's right down at the back of the field, so this is not anything that they're scoring points for at this stage. But unfortunately, there was a little incident between them. We will get another look in a moment. And Abby, you know all the rules. You've raced regularly at F1 circuits in your F1 Academy series. And when we look at it again, let's have a look at it. See who's at blame here.
It looks quite cumbersome, to be honest, from Alex Albon. He was never enough alongside to actually make the move stick. And it's just front right wheel to rear left contact. And it's in turn 5 as well, which is not a usual place where you see overtakes around here.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. He wasn't alongside enough there. Bit of damage?
Yeah, a bit of damage to the end plate of the Williams as well. So for both parties there, really was very, very silly outcome.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate for Franco Colapinto.
It's the sort of incident that's going to get Albon a penalty potentially, because he's caused a collision there, and not only that, damages front wing. Of course, he'd just come in for fresh hard tyres, which would have theoretically taken him to the end of the race. So it's a bit of a silly move to try, really. We'll have to see whether the steward jump on that as well.
So yeah, we shall see. But right now, Max Verstappen is still very much in control here. 4.7 seconds his lead over Carlos Sainz. Liam Lawson still in that third place, under some pressure from Kimi Antonelli, and that is one of the closest battles that we are keeping an eye on. Ahead of George Russell. Tsunoda's dropped back a touch more. He is still in sixth, but he's 1.8 seconds behind Russell now, and Tsunoda still is holding off Leclerc, Norris and Hamilton, which he's done a good job. Now we do have a yellow, and we also have coming into the pits
Kimi Antonelli looking to probably go to the hard compound, and it's released George Russell actually, so now he can go and attack Liam Lawson.
Yeah, but will it be an advantage to put the fresh tyres on first? Often, if you're the lead driver of two teammates, you get the right to have the earlier pit stop. Let's see how this goes.
Well, Russell will be going long, remember, because he's on the hard tyre.
That's true.
So there's not a traditional undercut in that way. What he's trying to do is undercut Tsunoda, not Russell. And then Russell will try and... Lawson, not Tsunoda. So then they'll see how which Mercedes strategy plays out as an advantage later in the race.
Absolutely. Well, here we go then. So that's an important pit stop. We shall see how this works for Kimi Antonelli as we go through this race. Meanwhile, Yuki Tsunoda is still defending his what is now fifth position from Charles Leclerc. The Albon Colapinto incident has been noted, and I'm sure we will see a little bit more investigation into that in a little while. There was the incident that Albon seemed to go down the inside, but shouldn't really have contacted. He didn't get out of it quickly enough, and it did look as though Albon is likely to get some sort of penalty for that. We shall see further into this race. Verstappen utterly under control right now. Outside the top 10, Fernando Alonso, still waiting for him to have his pit stop and the penalty that he had from a jump start. It is under investigation, that collision between Albon and Colapinto. No great surprise. Now then, George Russell getting a little closer once again to Liam Lawson. Now that his teammate Antonelli's not there, Russell may well be able to push on. Yeah, we've just seen Albon has got a 10-second penalty. That's what you thought, Abby.
Yeah, 10-second time penalty for Alex Albon. I think it was completely deserved. It was into a tight chicane, very cumbersome, and the contact was very obviously Albon's fault, as we're hearing Charles Leclerc going to the box as well.
Yeah, sort of responding to the fact that Antonelli has come in, because he's on a set of the mediums too, so he now goes on to the hard compound tyre, and this is pretty much what we thought from strategy wise. If you're on the mediums, you would be having to stop around this point.
Yeah, exactly. It's right in the pit window, and now they're putting the hard compound on, ready to go to the end of the race. Or, of course, if there is any safety cars, it may put a spanner in the works.
Yeah, but of course Verstappen in a way an advantage there by being on the hards from the beginning. If there is a safety car coming up over any time now, you would see Verstappen come in and gain time. You always gain time in the pits if you do it under safety car. So Charles Leclerc has rejoined, but he is behind Antonelli. Max Verstappen is the race leader, having taken it from pole position. A very good start. Carlos Sainz still second from the front row start, and Liam Lawson in third place. George Russell has made progress, been to fourth, but his teammate Antonelli is still going well, except he's just made a pit stop. So we are beginning to see pit stops for those that started on the medium compound tyre. So that does mix the order a little bit. The most dramatic part of this race, though, was the very first lap, when Oscar Piastri made a mistake at the start, and then on that first lap crashed out. So the championship leader Oscar Piastri is sitting watching the rest of the race. He's the only retirement from this race so far. Otherwise we've got 19 cars competing, and his big rival in the championship, Lando Norris, is in the top 10, but he's not been making up the ground that we kind of expected. Now we've got some key people coming in. Liam Lawson, who's been running in third place, is now coming into the pits.
And that also releases George Russell to really use the potential of that hard tyre later on in his stint, and really try and close that gap now to the likes of Carlos Sainz, who's sat in P2 at the moment.
our F1 Academy champion Abby pulling alongside me, as is Andrew Benson, F1 correspondent for BBC Sports, and we are just watching an interesting battle further behind Verstappen, because at the moment it's looking as though Verstappen, who started on the hard tyre, doesn't need to pit yet, and Antonelli is now really beginning to put some pressure on here. Let's see whether he's going to get past Liam Lawson, because this is effectively for third place earlier on. Now that they've made pit stops, they are running down in 10th and 11th, but remember, this was for third effectively, wasn't it?
Yeah, after that pit stop, Liam being put right into the clutches of Kimi Antonelli, and this is the fight for third on track. Although they're down now in 10th and 11th, this is where they're trying to get the track position on each other, but going through this middle sector, it will be impossible for Kimi to have a look as of yet.
So Mercedes stopped Antonelli first to try and jump Lawson in the pit stop period by going faster on the 2 laps that he had before Lawson stopped, but it hasn't worked for him. Maybe those hard tyres were hard to heat up, and so Lawson's come out now 2 laps after Antonelli stopped from his own stop, and he's still in front of Antonelli, and they're just coming onto the pit straight now, Ben. We'll see if Antonelli on his slightly warmer tyres can challenge Lawson up towards the first corner.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point actually, and we shall see how this works. Meanwhile, George Russell is putting some good laps together on the hard compound tyre in third place, and I think George, having started on the hard tyre, that's very, very effective. As they come down the straight in the DRS zone, this is a chance for Kimi Antonelli to have a proper go at getting past Liam Lawson. He moves to the inside. The DRS worked well for him there. He had a lot of straight line speed, and he gets way in front before he even gets under braking into turn 1.
Yeah, he made that look easy, even going through turn 16. I kind of knew he was going to have that done, as he was only half a second adrift from Liam Lawson, opened the DRS, and then it just breezes on past. But now going down to turn 3, Liam Lawson now has the DRS advantage.
Lawson's not giving up, is he? He wants to try and come back on Antonelli. But will these two still be fighting for podium, or is what George Russell is doing out on the hard tyre impressive? Meanwhile, Carlos Sainz still on the medium tyre. He's running second. Max Verstappen is some 6.5 seconds ahead of Carlos Sainz, but Carlos going quite deep on the medium compound tyre, isn't he?
He is, but let's not forget about George Russell. He's staying out on the hard tyre that he started on, just like race leader Max Verstappen, and at the moment he's got a big enough advantage to stop and come out ahead of Lawson and Antonelli. The question is, can Antonelli close that gap now on the hard tyres, which he should be able to, because his hard tyres are much newer than Russell's, and see which Mercedes driver comes out on top. Verstappen's totally in control of the race on the hard tyre. Sainz doing a good job on the mediums, and I guess for him it's just a question of can he hold off Russell for second place at the moment, or whichever Mercedes driver I should say.
I mean, it would still be a fantastic result for Carlos if he can just get a podium finish out of this. Let's wait and see. Yuki Tsunoda, Abby, he is doing a decent job for Red Bull this weekend, because he's had a tough season. He is teammate to Max Verstappen. He's had his best qualifying for the Red Bull team so far this year. He's currently in 4th, and that's partly because, of course, some people have made pit stops. He's on a hard tyre, but he has fended off the likes of Leclerc, Norris, Hamilton for a whole batch of laps. We're on lap 23 out of 51.
Yeah, I mean, P6 before the pit stops, now running P4, started P6, so not only was it's been a good race so far, but a good qualifying for him as well. So he's really trying to close that gap to Verstappen, although it's quite a tough upwards battle I think he has, as we go on board with Alex Albon side by side with the Aston Martin going down to turn 1.
Yeah, he's actually alongside Alonso, because Alonso had the penalty in the pit stop, which he's just done now. So, of course, this has pushed Alonso all the way down. He's down in 18th position. This was because at the start there was he was right behind Piastri. Oscar Piastri made the mistake of moving the car before the lights went out, and Alonso has admitted over the radio that he saw Piastri move and he moved and then he got the penalty, whereas Piastri, he didn't get a penalty because he'd already crashed out by the time we got to the end of that first lap.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's quite easily done reacting to what happens around you when you're just reacting to that light and you're waiting for that little bit of movement. You can quite quickly fall victim to someone else making a mistake. Yeah,
that's exactly what Alonso did, unfortunately. But we are just listening in to Ollie Behrman at the moment, as he is running in 14th position. Actually, Behrman and Ocon together, and we will see how this goes for the Haas team. They are not looking like they're going to be scoring points just yet. They didn't qualify quite as well as they had hoped yesterday. Meanwhile, our race leader, Max Verstappen, he's still opening up that advantage. He's now up to just over 7 seconds ahead of Carlos Sainz. Russell is still in 3rd place, and Russell is still putting some good laps. I was just having a look at the sort of lap times. He's doing similar lap times to Max Verstappen, and he is beginning to close that gap a bit to Sainz, although Sainz is holding on at this stage. Yuki Tsunoda still in 4th place. Lando Norris is now up into 5th place. Of course, the number of points that Lando Norris scores today, with Oscar Piastri failing to score, this could make a big difference in the Drivers' Championship going forward.
Exactly, he really needs to take this opportunity and try and make the most of it as possible. I mean, he didn't manage to do that in qualifying yesterday, knowing that his championship rival Oscar Piastri was out of qualifying. He then made a mistake himself, tapping the wall, not making a good improvement on his lap time. So this is where Norris really needs to try and close down that championship gap.
We're going to continue this on Sports Extra, but we are now going to go back on for Radio 5. Let's go back to Steve Crossman. So we are still watching the battle going on here. Andrew, what are your thoughts on sort of strategy that's going on right now?
Well, it's not going very well for Lando Norris, is my main thought about this at the moment. He's in 5th place, so he's made up some ground, but he's only made up ground by other people stopping in front of him. Tsunoda's still in front of him on the hard tyre. He's been tracking him for a long time. Tsunoda's obviously going to stop after Norris, so it's going to be difficult for Norris to pass Tsunoda. That's his first question. And he's 7 seconds behind George Russell and 10 seconds behind Carlos Sainz. So I don't think at the moment it looks like Norris is going to get a big haul of points and take as much advantage as he would want to from Oscar Piastri's mistakes on the first lap. We'll have to wait and see, of course, how the race unfolds. Maybe if he gets some clear air, then he will be able to do something. And what McLaren are doing, I suppose, is in leaving him out on the medium tyre, is giving him as much time. They're trying to give him a tyre offset on the hard so that he can go faster on the hard tyre when he goes onto it than the other people who are out there at the same time. It doesn't always work, especially given that we've seen that overtaking is not very easy. So it's not looking that great for Norris at the moment, I would say, but of course it can all turn around depending on how the race unfolds.
Absolutely. And sometimes we have seen McLaren being able to look after their tyres incredibly well on various tracks. But we shall just have to see if that's going to work at the end for Lando Norris. Now, Charles Leclerc is catching Liam Lawson. We've seen Lawson being passed by Kimi Antonelli. So do we think Charles Leclerc can now get past Lawson?
Potentially, but I think it's going to be tough. We've seen the two Mercedes struggle for 10 laps trying to get past and only got past because of the pit stops and having that warmer tyre. So potentially the Ferrari can get past, but it's not going to be made easy.
No, that's right. We shall see how this goes. Where Leclerc is relative to Norris, that's going to be very interesting after the pit stops, but we've still got a little bit of gap there.
Well, it's worth saying, I think, probably that it's looking a little bit reminiscent to Monza for McLaren at the moment. Here is Norris's radio. We're not getting the radio, we're just getting a thing. They're just talking about tailwind. They said that we've got a graphic on the telly screen. What I was going to say was it's worth making the point that McLaren are probably waiting for a safety car, hoping for a safety car and get a sort of cheap stop for Norris. But they can't just keep going ad infinitum. They've got to stop at some point on these medium tyres. Otherwise, if you end up compromising your race too much by hoping for that to happen, and at the moment there's not a massive prospect of it. So, as I say, let's wait and see how it unfolds, but not going that well for Lando Norris at the moment.
No, well, we shall keep an eye on it and just see what can happen. Kimi Antonelli in 8th place, ahead of Bortoletto, and we're just having a little look on board Nico Hülkenberg with the other Sauber, and he's got a move on Lance Stroll potentially. He's trying to go around the outside into turn 1, but yeah, to be fair, Lance Stroll defended, and he defended well, and he's held on to 12th so far.
Yeah, I want to say actually the Saubers, they're moving up through the field, and Gabriel Bortoletto being in P9 before pit stops was P11. They're doing a really great job at putting the pressure on and trying to get that into the points paying positions.
Yeah, listen to Verstappen's radio.
This is brilliant pace, mate. Keep chipping away.
Yeah, they're very happy with what he's doing. He is doing a very consistent pace. He's just done the fastest first sector of anybody on the hard compound tyre that he's been running since the very start of this race. So the hard tyre is holding on extremely well.
Yeah, which is kind of what we expected here around Baku. It's the tyre that all of them wanted to be on that they're saving, and obviously Verstappen he's going to run that tyre as long as possible and hope for a pit stop that he can make the advantage and that time advantage.
And that's the other thing about Norris's race. Everyone was predicting that the hard would be the best tyre, and it does look like the hard is the best tyre at the moment. So of course, the longer he delays his stop onto the hard tyre, the more he's compromising his race.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because remember, Leclerc's on the hard tyre at the moment, if it's working well for him, but Leclerc hasn't got past Lawson yet. We're just keeping an eye on that at the moment, but the gap is around a second between them, so he may just get into DRS zone, but it's not going to be totally easy.
I wouldn't let Russell get within undercut.
FM, we're monitoring FM.
Yeah, and it's what Carlos Sainz is talking about on the radio there is, he knows he's going to be in a battle with George Russell. Russell is now 2.6 seconds behind Carlos Sainz. Both will have a pit stop, but they're on opposite types of tyres. So very, very interesting to see how that goes. Gabriel Bortoleto, as you say, he's been doing a good job, but he's now been into the pits, 2.4 second stop, and he's now heading back out onto the circuit. May have just a little bit of a battle, but yeah, has to settle in behind as he rejoins behind Pierre Gasly, but there is potential that he can gain a bit of time now on these fresh tyres.
Yeah, he's dropped in behind the likes of Pierre Gasly, so he's going to be trying to make the most of that new tyre that he's got and get past Pierre for the rest of the Grand Prix.
Listening to Charles Leclerc right now, still looking to find some time to beat Liam Lawson, but they're up through the tight section now, climbing up the hill, trying to keep off the barriers one way then the other, and now they can really pick up the speed, suddenly up to 150 miles an hour, and then they're heading down towards turn 15, and they up to nearly 200 miles an hour, not quite, but just below, as they then get onto the brakes into a section where it's so easy to hit the barrier on the outside. Yesterday we saw a lot of people hit the barrier on the outside of turn 15. Today, so far, they've all been pretty well behaved, haven't they?
Yeah, the closest we've seen, other than obviously Oscar Piastri, as we see Carlos Sainz coming into the pit, so really making sure that Russell can't get that undercut. But yeah, it's been very, very close. A quick pit stop from the Williams crew there, 2.6, not the fastest we've seen, but relatively good to fend off that position.
Yeah, it looked actually slightly better than that, but it was 2.6 seconds, as you say, and he is back out, Carlos Sainz, so this is going to be fascinating to see how this all compares. Charles Leclerc is quite some way behind him as he's still trying to get past Lawson. So remember, Sainz was ahead of Lawson in the early part of this race. They were running second and third. Well, between Sainz and Lawson now, we actually have Hadjar due to have a pit stop. We have Antonelli, who has made his pit stop, and then we have Lawson. So there's no doubt that Antonelli, he's in a reasonable position. It depends sort of where Russell comes out after his pit stop.
Exactly, that's the big question. I mean, Lawson really, after these pit stops, is the biggest loser. He's not really made the progress and managed to maintain his position, but we kind of would have expected that from the Racing Bulls. They don't quite have the race pace that the likes of the Mercedes have.
Absolutely. So Charles Leclerc still looking for a way.
So at the moment, Russell's would come out just ahead of Antonelli, be really close, but of course he's going to have a big tyre advantage. So it looks at the moment like this hard-medium strategy is working for Russell over Antonelli's medium-hard strategy. Okay,
well, it's a good point, and we shall see. He'll need a decent pit stop, and of course, who knows, we may still get a safety car. As I say, people are behaving well at this stage. This has been a track I've noticed in the past when I've been commentating on races here at Baku. Sometimes they actually, if they've had a difficult Saturday, quite often we have quite a smooth Sunday where they just absolutely take control of themselves. Other times we've had everything work easy on a Saturday and then it goes bonkers on the Sunday. So we shall see what happens.
Yeah, well, of course, a big factor yesterday was the wind and the rain that come in qualifying. But as we're seeing, George Russell now putting... Kimi Antonelli actually putting Hadjar under pressure but not managing to make the move stick.
No, that was close though, wasn't it? He had DRS. That was an opportunity for Antonelli to gain the position on Hadjar for what is currently 7th, but actually potentially a podium finish at the end of this race because he's had an early pit stop already and he is keeping the pressure on here. This is certainly good news so far for Kimi Antonelli, but it does depend a lot on what George Russell does.
Getting stuck behind Hadjar though, that's gone long on this medium tyre, is going to really hurt his chances of getting ahead of Russell after the pit stop.
Yeah, that is a good point. He's sort of being held up, isn't he, on tyres that are fresh. Let's listen to Hadjar.
We should beat before he overtakes me.
We are looking after you, don't worry. Status 1, clean lap, no mistake. We are looking after you.
Good, that's interesting chat, isn't it? You know, he's a bit worried, but the team is saying, right, just do what we say. And I'm sure they're right, because strategy-wise, a driver can't know everything. Strategy is being covered by the team, so much information to absorb, and then decide on what to tell the driver.
Yeah, I mean, that is where experience comes into play as well, where Fernando will basically say to the team what he wants to do and doesn't really give them an option here. Isaac is putting all the trust in his team, making that decision for him.
Max Verstappen is still the race leader comfortably by 12.9 seconds, 12.8 from Russell, but Russell is due a pit stop. So is Verstappen, but he has got a comfortable lead. Tsunoda currently in third place. Norris is fourth, but he's also waiting for a pit stop. So is Hamilton in fifth. And then Carlos Sainz in sixth, who is the first of those that has made a pit stop effectively. Hadjar behind him, then Antonelli. You're listening in on Antonelli, and Hadjar is coming in, actually. So Isaac Hadjar is coming into the pits. That frees Antonelli. Are we going to be seeing Russell coming in soon? We shall find out. Those on the hard tyres have now gone into 30 laps of this race, which is the sort of margin that we were expecting, but clearly they're happy with the way they're holding them.
Yeah, I mean, there was quite a lot of runners actually still staying long on the medium tyre, Norris being one, Hadjar just changing now to the hard tyre, but really, really surprising that they would have been bagging for a safety car. It's not kind of planned and gone into their direction.
We're on lap 30 out of 51. We're over half distance in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Max Verstappen is leading from George Russell and Yuki Tsunoda. We've got some more pit stops to come, but the big story, Oscar Piastri crashing out on the opening lap. He made a bad start, a jump start, backed off, then had to go going again, but then he was way down the field and crashed into one of the barriers. He's the only non-finisher so far in this race, but of course as championship leader, scoring nothing, and he's just got to keep an eye on what everyone else is doing. Lando Norris is his closest rival, his teammate. He's currently in fourth, but Max Verstappen in third in the Drivers' Championship. He's quite a long way behind both McLaren drivers, but there's a real chance here that Max Verstappen's going to take his second Grand Prix win in a row after a dominant force at Monza. Nobody's really putting Max Verstappen under any pressure here at the moment, are they?
No, the top five are still yet to pit, and he's got a 12-second advantage over George Russell. So we'll see how that one plays out as we hear from Russell.
This tyre feels good. I think just keep extending.
Yeah, hey firm. I was just going to say the same thing.
That's interesting. So he's also on the hard tyre. He's very happy with it. So is Verstappen. So is Tsunoda, who's currently running third on the hard tyre. So Andrew, we could see a bit of a change in the order from how this race started because of those who started on the hard tyre.
Well, this is the thing for Norris. He's the outlier of that top five who haven't stopped yet. He's the only one on the medium tyre. Now, as I was saying earlier, he wants to get on the hard tyre because it's the fastest tyre. But at the moment, he's 20 seconds behind Verstappen. If he pits now, he's going to drop behind Leclerc into 9th place, and then he's going to have to overtake all those cars. Now, in theory, that should be okay because he's going to have a massive tyre offset on them, on the best tyre. But we know that overtaking is not that easy. So he's got a very busy second half of the race, Lando Norris, ahead of him, but it hasn't started yet.
No, it hasn't. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, he puts himself in a really big high risk of being stuck in that DRS train that we see going down to turn one, where everyone is giving each other DRS and they can't really make anything of it.
And I've seen here in Baku before very little overtaking for quite a lot of the race, but then as we get into the final stages, when some are on fresh tyres and some are relatively fresh, not totally fresh, but relatively fresh tyres, that is when we do start to see some changes suddenly in the last moment. Whether that will happen today, for now, for example, we're still keeping an eye on Charles Leclerc trying to get past Liam Lawson, and funnily enough, there's a bit of a surprise of who's just set fastest lap. Ollie Behrman with the Haas. That's impressive that Ollie Behrman's done a fastest lap. He's way down in the field though. He's down in 18th place.
Yeah, well, he's put the medium tyre on and he's actually got fairly clear air, so he's making the most of that tyre now.
Yeah, so it just goes to show it is working well. But Verstappen out in front at the moment. When will he come in? There's no drama, as we've heard from the radio. Those on the hard tyres feel they can go deeper and deeper, and it's not worth risking coming in too early, because if there is a late safety car period, then that's the time that you want to dive into the pits, because you always gain advantage by stopping into the pits during that period. Talking of which, Esteban Ocon is now 13th. He started right down at the back. He did his pit stops early on when we had safety car, and he doesn't have to go into the pits again at all. I wonder if there's a chance that Ocon might score a point or two, because there are others ahead of him that will have to make pit stops.
Exactly. Esteban is just driving his own race now. He did his pit stop early and is just nursing those hard tyres all the way to the end of this Grand Prix, which he's actually pretty well known for. He's good at looking after his tyres, so he did have a little bit of damage and a bit of contact at the start of the Grand Prix, but it doesn't seem to be affecting him too much.
But I'll tell you what, he's coming under a bit of pressure from Bortoletto, who's only half second behind him on medium tyres, so that might make a difference. We shall have to wait and see if that occurs. Meanwhile, we are listening in on Max Verstappen. He's having a rather lonely time at the moment, but very happy because he has dominated since the start of this race, starting from pole position. No doubt he's in that situation where he feels comfortable with the car. Reliability, of course, has been good so far this year, but it's always something that can be a worry. When you've got a healthy lead, it's something that, of course, does come across a bit more often. It
must feel strange for him. It's been a while over the Monza where he's been having these lonely races, so it must feel nice as we see some shots of the start-finish straight and some foliage. A bit of a tree had dropped onto the track, although little, it shouldn't pose too much of an issue, but it's just the nature of these street circuits always having little things that ends up happening.
Lando Norris is in 4th place at the moment, the only McLaren car still in this race after we lost Oscar Piastri earlier. He's still behind Yuki Tsunoda, and Tsunoda is doing a fine job so far. Whether he's going to get one of his best results for Red Bull this year, we shall wait and see. He is certainly putting it together quite well. His best finish for this year has been a 9th place finish. So whether he's going to be able to improve on that, we shall see soon. He is currently in 3rd, but that is partly because, of course, he hasn't made his pit stop as yet. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc, who did make a pit stop earlier on, is getting closer and closer to Lawson, but they have both pitted so far. Once the cars up ahead of them do it, then it'll make a difference. Tsunoda just being told to pick up the pace, isn't he?
Yeah, making the most of that hard tyre on these last few laps before he changes to the medium for the end of the stint. Yeah, that's when the teams get onto you and say, right, push, because they, in the earliest stage of the race, they will be telling you to look after those tyres, make them last. But when they, as you say, when you're getting close to your pit stop, then you might as well push them as hard as possible. If they start to go off, it's not a problem because they'll bring you into the pits. Yeah, exactly, and this is where he wants to try and make sure he doesn't drop as far back down, not as many cars in between him and where he is now, just so that he's got less work to do when he's given that nice fresh medium. Yeah, well, let's see what happens. It's looking like a very comfortable performance for Max Verstappen out front at the moment. George Russell in 2nd place, Yuki Tsunoda in 3rd, Lando Norris in 4th, Lewis Hamilton in 5th place. Then it's Carlos Sainz, who we still think is on target for a podium finish possibly here, but it is going to be interesting to see, because those that have not made their pit stops, is it going to be a big advantage for those, particularly George Russell? I think he's in a good position here. Tsunoda possibly as well. We are going to work this all out after their pit stops. They're going to need rapid pit stops as ever. They don't want a slow pit stop, of course. That's what Lando Norris suffered last time out in Monza, but the team still swapped him around to his teammate, even though he came out behind him, having been in front of him for so long. I don't think the other teams are going to play with that very much in this race. It's just going to come down to how your pit stop goes. Yeah, I think it, and also potentially safety cars, if there's safety cars. We're in a bit of a lull at the moment where everyone's getting through their pit stops, but if that late safety car does come, it could really put a spanner in the works as we go on board with Lewis Hamilton going down to turn 15. Will we see a tap of the wall on the exit? Yes, we do. A really, really small tap from the 7-time world champion. Yeah, let's just have another look at it from another view. He just touches, actually it's very light. We saw much heavier touches than that. One of them yesterday was Lando Norris actually in qualifying. He didn't damage the car, but it did affect his final lap of qualifying, and that's partly why Lando didn't qualify as well as he had hoped. Yeah, that wasn't a touch, that was a scrape from Lando Norris in qualifying. He followed the wall all the way along. Tricky conditions it was, although they did forecast rain 20 minutes ago and it's not come. No rain so far. The wind is still a bit gusty, but they seem to be coping with that
far better than they did yesterday in qualifying. It was a stronger wind yesterday, but it was the little bit of rain that we had around. Very unpredictable rain in certain places and not in others. But let's just see, because Max Verstappen is absolutely dominating this race currently. And in terms of the championship, well, he will get 25 points for the win. It will put him 50 points behind Lando Norris, as they are at the moment. And then Piastri will be another 21 points further ahead of that. But it's going to put all three closer again because of Piastri going out of this race. We're just having a look at Gabriel Bortoleto, and he, I think, has found a way past Ocon. That was pretty brave, but it worked, I think.
Yeah, really late on the brakes there. Very brave from the rookie, as we're also seeing Alex Albon chasing down Esteban Ocon on that very old hard tyre now, making the move stick. Quite easy that was from Alex Albon, and the two now chasing down the two kick Saubers.
It's interesting, actually, because I thought that Ocon might be able to hold the pace on these hard tyres, having made the pit stop early, but actually it does feel now as though his hard tyres are going off a bit. They were put on very, very early in this race, so actually his chance of scoring points is looking less likely, the way that people are managing to overtake on fresher tyres. But Verstappen's still on the hard tyre out front, and he's still doing very decent lap time. He's just on a 1:44.9. Russell's doing a very similar kind of lap times, even though he's 14 seconds behind, both in the 1:44s. It looks like Tsunoda more in the 1:45s, and we will be seeing those pit stops coming up, unless they are just all waiting for a potential safety car or virtual safety car as an advantage to make the stop. But if the tyres do start to go away, I'm sure we'll be getting messages on the radio from the drivers to the team saying, sorry, these tyres are really beginning to go. We haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, there comes a point where you just have to commit to it and take your losses and try and make the most of then that second stint.
We shall see, yes. So Yuki Tsunoda has a gap of 20 seconds over Liam Lawson at the moment.
So if we look at the numbers here, at the moment Lando Norris, this is championship I'm thinking about here, because I know the race winner is going to be Verstappen, and then there is some debate about who's going to be on the podium, but it looks like Russell and Sainz are competing for that at the moment for second place. But in terms of Norris in the championship, he's 23 seconds behind Verstappen, and if he loses 20 seconds for his pit stop, he comes out behind Charles Leclerc, as I said before a few minutes ago. That will put him in 9th place. Leclerc and Lawson are running together, and Leclerc has not been able to overtake Lawson ever since his pit stop, basically. And Antonelli is about 7 seconds in front of them. So, and then Sainz is another 3 seconds in front of him. So I don't really see how Norris is going to make much progress. I don't really understand what McLaren are doing. His radio.
Get closer to Tsunoda, we could think about the undercut.
Maybe they're thinking the same as you.
They're hoping to undercut Tsunoda, but they're going to get overtaken by a whole bunch of other cars when they come in for the pits. So I don't know. I don't see how it's going to work for him at the moment.
Well, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it all goes. Battle for third right now. And Hamilton is being told to come into the pits now. So Lewis Hamilton, who started on the hard tyre, of course his teammate Charles Leclerc made a much earlier pit stop because he started on the medium tyre. This will be interesting to see where they all come out after the pit stops. It's always fun when you've got slightly different strategies going on between teams. It makes it a little more unpredictable, these later pit stops. And they are, although they might have been holding on for a Lewis Hamilton into the pits. So let's see how the pit stop goes here at Ferrari for Lewis Hamilton. And yep, that's straightforward. There were no mistakes. He's onto a fresh set of medium compound tyres, a stop of 2.2 seconds. This does drop him back behind his teammate. Let's see how many other places he may drop and try and get them back once he gets going. But he is going to come back out in 9th position, and he's well ahead of Hadjar and Stroll, so he will be catching his teammate, funnily enough, over the next few laps. The gap is quite big, but he's on the fresh tyres. I wonder if we're going to see a rivalry between the two Ferrari drivers.
With only 14 laps left of this Grand Prix, he can really push hard on their medium tyres and use every ounce of life they have left to try and catch his teammate.
Absolutely, yeah. So we shall see how that goes. Hulkenberg currently in the pits at this stage. He is way down the list, though, I'm afraid. His teammate, Bortoleto, though, he's up in 11th. I wonder if there's a chance. There may be some extra points for Sauber, because Bortoleto just one position outside the top 10 at this stage. We're on lap 38 out of 51. Max Verstappen is the leader right from the start. George Russell is currently in second, but we've got pit stops going on, which will change things around. There is a chance Russell could get the podium. Carlos Sainz still on target. Lando Norris, though, it doesn't look like he's going to make as many places as he like after we lost Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, early in this race. So Lando is now back into the pits. Let's see how this goes. Absolutely crucial time here, Abby.
Exactly, this has got to be tidy. It's a slow stop from the, I don't even know where.
Delay for Lando Norris. 4.1 seconds. It's like being at Monza all over again.
Yeah, that was disaster for him. I don't know what corner was slow there, but this means he's going to drop back further than he'd like, behind Charles Leclerc, back into P8.
Oh my goodness, for Lando's opportunity here to score points, to close the gap up to his teammate Oscar Piastri. Everything is not working for him. A slow stop, as it was in Monza. It was a slightly different reason, I think. We will have to have another look at the replay of why that was a slow stop. But the tyres seemed to go onto the wheels seemed to go onto the car pretty quickly. But then he was still jacked up and they didn't let him go. So there was some reason, and it has cost him. And that is put him back behind Charles Leclerc. Hamilton will be behind, but both he and Hamilton are on fresh tyres. So I suppose we might see Norris and Hamilton chasing after Leclerc, but it makes it tough. Let's have a look at what happened here. And what are your thoughts, Andrew?
Well, let's see what happens in the pit stop. Let's see we can work out what exactly went wrong. It doesn't look like a lot went wrong. They didn't put him down.
Drop it down,
and he
did
didn't
they?
go. Exactly. No. Here we go again. We're getting another replay. He comes into the pits. We're only going to see it from the onboard camera here. Yeah, front wheels go on okay. The right front, there you go. It's the right front wheel that wasn't properly secured, so they had to have a second go at that. Now, what's interesting about that was he lost 2 seconds in the pit stop effectively, and he's come out 2 seconds behind effectively Lawson and Leclerc. So they were hoping they might get him in the mix of Lawson and Leclerc with that stop. And we're getting the leader coming in. Oh no, it's Tsunoda coming in now for Red Bull. But it didn't work out because of that delay. But I don't think even with the delay that he would have got ahead of them. He would have just been in the mix with them.
Yuki Tsunoda heading back out. So where is Tsunoda going to come back out? Is there any chance of him getting towards the podium? I think that's probably a little bit of a challenge, but it's been a long, long run. And as Tsunoda comes out, it's Liam Lawson that he will be battling with. Lawson is right there with him, and this is going to be tough. Remember, Lawson was running third. Lawson is going to have a look up on the inside, and I think he's going to make the move. He's on tyres that, of course, have done quite a lot of laps, so he's got plenty of performance from them, and he does. He gets past Tsunoda, and Tsunoda now is under pressure from Charles Leclerc, with Lando Norris catching in the background.
Yuki Tsunoda there getting a really great pit stop coming out in front of them, but squirming out of T1 as he's on the colder tyre, not able to make the most of them new tyres. It's really hard on the outlap to get temp up in them.
It is. Lewis Hamilton has just set a very quick lap as well. He's behind Norris. Listen to Russell. Well, we're just saying he's being told to come into the pits. So where is Russell going to come back out? This is going to be absolutely fascinating to see how this goes, of course, in the battle for a podium finish. Will he come out ahead of his teammate? Antonelli is currently running in 4th position at this stage.
The question is he going to come out ahead of Tsunoda?
Yeah.
He's got 22-second lead, 22.5-second lead. He should do it if he's pitted. Yes, he's pitted. So he could be ahead of Tsunoda here.
Okay, well, let's see what happens. George Russell is in the pits right now, and Lando Norris is putting a lot of pressure on Charles Leclerc, and in fact he's going to be in a perfect zone going down into DRS, down the main start-finish straight. It's about straight line speed. The Ferrari will be defensive, but I wonder if there's anything Leclerc's going to be able to do here to defend from Lando Norris, because he's coming down the straight very, very quickly. The DRS coming into play, and Leclerc is going to have to go to the inside, I think. Is he? Maybe not. Lando Norris actually didn't quite get alongside.
Yeah, I mean, Leclerc has the DRS on Yuki Tsunoda as well, so it made it that much more harder for Lando to make any progress with it. If Leclerc was pushing his own air, for sure that would have been a slam dunk pass, as we're going now down to turn 3, not making anything else of it as well.
So I messed up the commentary then. It was Sainz that Russell was battling with, obviously for second place, and Russell has come out ahead of Sainz, 1.2 seconds clear.
Absolutely. So Verstappen now being told to come into the pits, and he's got a big lead. So that has changed, as you say. Russell, this has worked really well for George Russell. George Russell started in 5th place on this grid, and he is now in 2nd place on a fresh set of mediums, ahead of Carlos Sainz, who started from the front row earlier. And the gap between the 1.6 seconds, and already Russell's going quicker than Sainz. So it looks as though Russell is going to be on for a 3rd podium finish here in Baku over the last 4 years. That's impressive what he has done. Verstappen in the pits. Race leader Max Verstappen into the pits for the one and only pit stop that he is due. From hard tyres onto medium, straightforward stop, not overly rapid, but plenty quick enough, because he's got such an advantage anyway, Abby.
Yeah, I mean, they could hold him for a couple of 10 seconds even, and he'll be plenty fine. But yeah, now onto the medium to finish his stint, as we're seeing Lando Norris putting some pressure now on Charles Leclerc, who hasn't got, I don't think, the DRS from Yuki Tsunoda ahead.
Oh, that's a good point. Well done, because I think he's over a second behind Tsunoda, isn't he? And you don't get DRS, and now he's really under pressure from Lando Norris. Lando Norris is going to try and take that 7th place from Charles Leclerc. He's got the run. DRS has worked perfectly. He's got in front of him. And yes, Lando Norris has gained a position. He is into 7th place, but it is still not the sort of points that we were expecting to see Lando be able to move up into in this race. And so if he finishes in 7th place, he will score 6 points. But remember, he came into this race 31 points behind his teammate Oscar Piastri, who is scoring nothing here. Ocon's being asked to swap positions with Ollie Behrman, his teammate. Behrman on a set of medium compound tyres. They're both outside of the points, but I wonder if there's a chance that Behrman's on some rapid laps. He does go well here at Baku. You were telling us about that, Abby, earlier on this weekend. Behrman always seems to perform well at Baku, doesn't he?
So, yeah. This is McLaren's strategy playing out now. Sorry, Abby. They've got new hard tyres on that car, and his aim is to pass Tsunoda and Lawson ahead of him and get into 5th place. And then there's a 7.6 second gap to Antonelli, so he's probably not going to get the Mercedes. But 5th is looking like Norris's best option, but can he do it?
George Russell, we're just having a look at his pit stop, which took place, which did get him out ahead of Sainz.
There was an orange bollard in the track, and it's caught in his floor. It's been caught in his floor. I don't know if we'll be able to see it here in the box, but he hit it with some speed, and you could hear the thud as he come into the box. You could see it as he was stationary for his pit stop.
But he got out in front of Carlos Sainz, and he is pulling away, isn't he? So it looks as though the car's working well, and it's a great... This is good stuff by Mercedes. I mean, they've gone well in the past here. Listen to Sainz.
Russell on fresh rubber with car pace, it will be difficult.
Coffee, give it to me, please.
Yeah, and Carlos is sensible. He's a good racer. I think his other threat is the fact that he's under pressure from Antonelli, who's only 1.2 seconds behind. And that's, in a way, if he could get a podium here, that would be such a great result for Williams. Yes, they've had some good results this year, and they've done well to move up into 5th in the Constructors' Championship, but to get a podium here at Baku would be a special time. Carlos has not always had a good time here at Baku, so let's just see whether he's going to be able to deliver and hold on for a podium finish here. His best finish here in the past has been 5th.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing a brilliant job at the moment, keeping the Mercedes at bay, but Kimi Antonelli close behind, 1.4 behind Carlos Sainz, going to be trying to put some pressure on him.
Albon on the radio. Yeah, that was interesting little reports.
Yeah, reports of light rain actually, so at turn 16. So that cool, we got 20 minutes, or this was now at the start of the Grand Prix, that 20 minutes in, there's going to be some rain, potentially now playing a factor in the last couple laps of this Grand Prix.
Absolutely. Well, let's see what happens. We are into the latter stages, as you say, and for Max Verstappen, this is all totally under control. He has set fastest lap again, out on a new set of medium compound tyres at a 1:43.702. Russell's not far off in terms of lap time, but he's not on that pace, and of course he's 11 seconds behind, so there's no battle for the lead going on here. It's very comfortable for Max Verstappen. Russell in a strong second, Carlos Sainz in third, and he's going to have to fend off from Kimi Antonelli. We're just keeping an eye on Yuki Tsunoda, who's putting pressure on Liam Lawson right now for 5th place. Gets close, not quite alongside.
No, not able to make anything of that.
Yeah, so that battle for 5th is the interest in the race now. We're seeing Lewis Hamilton on board. I'm not quite sure why.
He's just passed Leclerc. So that's interesting. Hamilton has gone past his teammate.
On his fresh medium tyres, right. So Leclerc's falling back. And so that means Hamilton now will be coming up with Norris. He's only 2.2 seconds behind Norris. And so the battle for fifth is Lawson. He's doing a really good job holding off Tsunoda so far. And Norris is catching them up on his fresher tyres. It's a team order from Ferrari that they've ordered Leclerc to let him by because Hamilton's on the fresher medium tyres. So we've got Lawson followed by Tsunoda and Norris in close order, and Lewis Hamilton dragging up onto the back of them. So it's going to be a 4-car DRS train for fifth place. Lawson's done an outstanding job in this Grand Prix so far, holding off people. But can he hold off a fresh-tired Red Bull and a fresh-tired McLaren behind him?
Yeah, that could be a challenge. He is doing well so far, but that's they are very close to Liam Lawson, both Yuki Tsunoda and Lando Norris. And Hamilton is going to catch this group as well, so it could be a four-way battle, couldn't it? Yeah,
Liam's going to get sick of looking in his mirrors by the end of this Grand Prix. He's been under pressure, I think, for the whole 44 laps we've had so far.
Isaac Hadjar is currently in 10th place for the potential last point, and he is quite some way ahead of everybody else. Bortoletto's in 11th place. Albon is in 12th, ahead of Behrman and Ocon. So, yeah, we're just listening on board with Lando Norris right now. He is so close to the back of Yuki Tsunoda. We saw how close he was last time. Now, down the straight, the Red Bulls are very rapid in a straight line. They have relatively low downforce, and that's where it can be an advantage here in Baku, because that is the main potential overtaking area.
Yeah, of course, and on board with Lando Norris. He's not able to make anything of it, as the Red Bull also had DRS from Liam Lawson ahead. Going out of turn one, having a squirm of the rear on the throttle, struggling with that hard tyre. Yeah.
Mind you, I said that Carlos Sainz, just up ahead of them in third, still has to protect from Antonelli. He's actually he's lapping a similar pace, if not a fraction quicker than Antonelli. He's just gone up to 1.6 seconds. So Antonelli's definitely not within DRS zone of Carlos Sainz in the battle for a podium finish here.
Yeah, and actually I'm just keeping an eye on Hamilton. He's 8 tenths faster that lap compared to Lando Norris, so he's romping up to the back, and we see him come into picture. He's really, really closing in, so he could potentially try and make some moves, but it's a bit of a DRS train forming, so it'll be hard for him, but he definitely has the advantage.
Yeah, so DRS train is when you've got a bunch of cars in a row, and all the cars behind the lead car have got the DRS, so the people in the further back positions in the DRS train, so to speak, they don't get advantage from the DRS, so they have to wait for the car that's second to see if that can pass the car in front, and that's what's key here. Tsunoda is behind Lawson. Lawson's leading the train in his Racing Bulls. Tsunoda and Norris and Hamilton all have fresher tyres than him, but if Tsunoda can't get past Lawson, then it's really difficult for Norris and Hamilton to get past Tsunoda as well, because they don't get the speed offset on the straight from their DRS, because Tsunoda's got it as well.
It's very true. So this is going to be fascinating to see if there are any changes here. Liam Lawson, though, is having to defend hard now. Tsunoda's got a chance to go down the outside into turn one, but no, he can't do it. But this might help Lando Norris. That's the thing. If you're the third in a queue like that, and the top two are fighting each other, then you sometimes can take full advantage. But Lando got closer, but not quite close enough to attack. And Lewis Hamilton behind is still getting closer and closer.
Yes, Tsunoda darting everywhere to try and find a way past Liam Lawson down that main straight, but not quite managing to make anything of it. Went to the outside, went to the inside. He definitely has the advantage on the brakes, but just couldn't materialise anything out of it for sure. I think there might be a change in the next couple laps.
Does look like Max Verstappen's on for a Grand Slam here once again as a Grand Prix finish, because he started from pole position. He is leading comfortably. He has set fastest lap. He's led every lap. So Monza was dominated by him. He's dominating this one again, isn't he?
Yeah, I think this is kind of what we predicted, really. Chaos to happen behind him and him just to walk off. But what I don't think we predicted was George Russell coming from P5 to now be P2, chasing him down, although not really closing the gap. He's really drove a mature race using all of his experience and trying to close down that gap to the front three in the Drivers' Championship, although not quite going to be catching on Max Verstappen, who's P3 in the Drivers' Championship at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, let's see how this all goes.
These guys are fast, man. Trying to catch up.
Yeah, Lawson 2 seconds and a half ahead. Can do it.
You can do it. Yeah, well, he is Hamilton just talking to the radio there, and he is catching this group. Leclerc is still behind him because he allowed him through. Lando Norris having a little look at the inside there of Tsunoda, but it wasn't. There certainly was not the space. And we are running out of laps, of course. We could be into drama in the last couple of laps. That's what we found last year, actually, with Perez and Sainz, when it went a bit wrong on almost towards the end of the race. Let's see if they can keep this all nice and clean. There's nothing going on for first, second and third at this stage. Verstappen comfortably out in front. Russell in second place and Sainz running in third.
That gap between third and fourth with Kimi Antonelli and Carlos Sainz is kind of stagnated. It's at 1.5 seconds. Kimi Antonelli not managing to make the ground that he probably would have liked at this part of the Grand Prix. The last 5 laps now, he really, if he wants to eye up that podium, that double podium for Mercedes, he needs to really start putting the hammer down and trying to chase down Carlos Sainz.
Okay, well, let's see how this goes. But for the moment, it is really all the fighting going on for 5th place. As you say, Lawson, Tsunoda, Norris and Hamilton. Behind them, Leclerc, Hadjar, and that's the top 10. That's how we're looking at point scorers here today. In terms of the teams, it's looking good for Red Bull. They've got a potential winner and more points from Tsunoda. For Mercedes as well, they've got both drivers well up in the points, with Russell currently in second and Antonelli in third place. For McLaren, this has not been a very good weekend at all, surprisingly, when we've seen the dominance of McLaren throughout so much of this year. But the mistake that Oscar Piastri made early on, the fact that neither of them qualified well, that Norris hasn't been able to make up as much ground as we expected. They are not going to be scoring a huge number of points here today, even if Lando does gain a few more places.
No, we know this track is notorious for being hard to overtake, and it's exactly what it's proven for McLaren and Lando. I mean, that slow stop really didn't help, because if it went to plan, he would have been ahead of Liam Lawson, getting them extra points and trying to chase down the likes of Kimi Antonelli. But now he's fallen suit of this DRS train, as Andrew explained earlier, and not managed to make any use of that hard tyre, that nice fresh hard tyre that he had, and the tyre advantage he had over this group. It's just materialised to nothing.
Absolutely. Well, we shall see. Lap 47 out of 51. Max Verstappen still with that lead, with the fastest. Oh my goodness, you see Leclerc in the background.
Charles Leclerc coming out of turn 5 and 6, I think that was, just on the throttle, really sideways, pushing on to try and catch up to his teammate Lewis Hamilton.
Hamilton so close now, though. Max Verstappen dominating the race in Baku. He has a 14-second lead, having started from pole. He set fastest lap. He's on for another of his Grand Slam finishes in Grand Prix racing. But a great effort by George Russell, who is in second place now, having started 5th on the grid. And Russell has performed well. It looks like he's going to take that second place under no threat from Carlos Sainz, who is in 3rd place. Kimi Antonelli is in 4th place. But we then have a group of cars all fighting. Liam Lawson is currently in 5th place, Yuki Tsunoda in 6th, and you're listening to Lando Norris, who is in 7th place. Yeah, the man who's second in the championship, who could score points against his teammate Oscar Piastri, who crashed out early on today. But Lando's still down in 7th. He's having a little look at trying to find a way past Tsunoda. Abby Pulling, you're a racer yourself. You won in a junior single-seater category yourself. But for watching Lando here, he's just not delivering some of the talent that we have seen in the past.
No, I mean, it's quite frustrating. He did get unlucky with his pit stop as well, getting held because of his front right not being able to go on properly. But I mean, around the circuit, the street circuit here, it's notorious for hard overtaking, so it is no surprise he's struggled to move forward during this race.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so impressed with the way that Liam Lawson is holding this group off at the moment. Liam Lawson in 5th position. He did qualify in 3rd place. You're listening in to Lewis Hamilton right now. He's only a fraction behind Lando Norris. And the question is, getting through the tight section here at Baku. We're going uphill at the moment. That's what you're listening to, the tightest section, where it's easy to clip a barrier here just by it's so narrow, but now it widens up, And then you're going through some very fast sections and coming down to the key area, Sector 3, where we tend to see overtaking, but we haven't seen that much in the last few laps.
Yeah, I mean, it's a circuit where you can barely fit your own car width through the circuit, let alone try and overtake. So it's a real challenge for these drivers. As you said, that castle section, a very special part of the track, uphill, and you're constantly forcing the wheel left, right, left, and it could be quite tiresome. But now going down the main straight, seeing if any of the drivers can make the most of the DRS. Liam Lawson, as you said, doing a very good job of keeping Yuki Tsunoda behind.
Let's see if he can continue this way. We are getting into the final stages of this race. He's held him off again on this particular lap at the main potential overtaking area. They're just one behind another. Liam Lawson in 5th place for Racing Bulls. 6th place Yuki Tsunoda for Red Bull, and Tsunoda's still having a better result for Red Bull than he's had many times. Lando Norris down in 7th place and Lewis Hamilton in 8th. The 4 cars are all absolutely together at this stage, but for the moment Liam Lawson is doing everything he needs to hold on to this position, and let's see whether he's going to get his best finish in Formula 1 so far. He has finished 6th in the past. Can he get this 5th place? Yes, he was on a potential podium in the early stages, but that was before we got into different strategies, and the strategies of those that started on the hard compound tyres and stopped later in the race has definitely helped George Russell in particular. He's moved up to 2nd place.
Yes, and the Racing Bull isn't known for its amazing race pace, so it's no surprise that Liam has dropped back a little bit and the stronger Mercedes has moved forward. But I mean, he's doing an incredible job to keep this pack behind him. And I know as well, as we're going on board with Lando Norris 3rd in this train, how frustrating it is as a driver following these cars, knowing you're in the faster car but not managing to make that progression. It's really hard to manage the tyres, but also manage the aero wash you're going to be feeling from these cars ahead. And it's a real big balancing act. And I think if he was the one behind Yuki Tsunoda, behind Liam Lawson, he might have been able to edge forward. But because it's so I think we're seeing a yellow flag going down the main straight. I could be wrong, but not able to make that progress on Yuki, because he's got the DRS of Liam ahead.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting towards the end of this race now. Lap 50 of 51. Verstappen well out in front from George Russell in 2nd place, Carlos Sainz in 3rd, Kimi Antonelli in 4th, both Mercedes in the top 4. But we are still watching the battle for 5th. Liam Lawson, can he hold on here? He's doing such a great job, but it's so much pressure he's got from Yuki Tsunoda, from Lando Norris, who looks as though he's going to still be 25 points behind his teammate Oscar Piastri, who crashed out early in this race. So it is going to see Lando close the gap up a little bit to his teammate in the Drivers' Championship. Another aspect is we're not seeing McLaren win the Constructors' Championship this weekend, because losing a car early on and not getting the result from Norris, it's not going to happen here, but it might happen in Singapore.
Yeah, I mean, but even so, realistically for Lando, it's not enough. He's only going to score 6 points where he is right now. He had the opportunity with Piastri having a DNF to really make some progress, and it's just not enough for him. He needs to try and get that advantage. As when Lando had his DNF at Zandvoort, that meant that Oscar outscored it by 25 points, and that's where the gap is really, really stretched out.
Our race leader is on his final lap as that group are going down the final sector for the last time, effectively, that there may be changes. Fastest lap has been set again by Max. I mean, he has just dominated this race. That pole position that he pulled out yesterday was a brilliant move. They sent him out last moment in qualifying where there was some dampness. We're just keeping an eye on the battle, and in fact Lando Norris is having a bit of a go at getting past Yuki Tsunoda, but Tsunoda just does enough to hold it there. A bit of a sideways moment from Lando Norris had a go but couldn't do it. And what this has allowed actually is Liam Lawson to get a bit more space in 5th place. He is looking as though he can secure that 5th place, but Lando Norris is not giving up. Lando in 7th still wants to try and get a few more points to close that gap to Piastri, who is watching from the sidelines, having crashed out earlier on.
Yeah, Liam can stop looking at his mirrors a little bit now. The pressure's been taken off for this final lap, but a lot of pressure on for Lando. He's been trying to get past Tsunoda for the last 15-20 laps now, I think it is. So he's been really putting the pressure on as we're on board now with Max Verstappen going around the final turn 16. Although there's corners after it, they're all flat out down the main straight.
Well, Max Verstappen has totally dominated the race here at Baku. There is nobody anywhere near him. He's 14 seconds ahead of George Russell, who's running in second place, and he's already starting to celebrate, weaving around miles before he gets to the checkered flag. The checkered flag waves out. Max Verstappen crosses the line. He wins at Baku, his second ever win here. Only the third time it's been won from pole position. George Russell finishes in second place. That's his third podium. It's his best result ever in Baku. He's finished third a couple of times before. And well done to Carlos Sainz, taking the podium for Williams, their first podium of the year, and there's delight for that team. Carlos, who's had a tough time for a while being with Williams, he's got that third place. Antonelli is in fourth. Where is Lando Norris going to finish? Well, there's no change there. Liam Lawson gets the fifth place. Yuki Tsunoda is sixth, and Norris is seventh, ahead of Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc and Isaac Hadjar. So Piastri, who crashed out early in this race, scored nothing. Lando Norris has scored some points, finishing in seventh place, but not nearly as many points as he would have liked. He's only picked up 6 points as he tries to close the gap. What are your thoughts, Andy? Oh, let's just listen to Verstappen.
Another great drive, Max. Fabulous work, mate. Congrats.
Yes. Oh, what an unbelievable race, guys. On fire. Don't compound. Really well executed. Really well done the whole weekend. Another incredible weekend for us. So well done to everyone involved.
Dominant, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you expect nothing less from Max Verstappen there. It was a masterclass from him. And also George Russell and Carlos Sainz doing a really great job as well, finishing off the podium positions. I mean, they've maximised everything there. Carlos managing to maintain his position on the podium. He's punching the air with joy there.
Yeah, I'm really pleased for Carlos Sainz and for Williams to get a podium finish here. But it's Verstappen who wins from Russell and Sainz.
Super job. Super drive today, George.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, not bad considering I felt like the weekend. Good job.
Yeah, and George Russell finished in second. That was very, very good. We're going to continue our reactions here on Sports Extra, but we are now going to hand back to Radio 5 Live. Back over to Steve Crossman. So we are just waiting for the cars to make their way back to the pits and, of course, to enjoy the podium. Let's listen to the radio with Sainz.
Vamos! Vamos! Best podium in my career, guys. You cannot imagine how this tastes. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say this is my first smooth operation in Williams. And not the last. And not the last.
Well done to Sainz. It's the first proper podium for the Williams team since, funnily enough, in a full-length race was Baku 2017, when Lance Stroll took third place, because although they kind of officially got a podium in the Belgian Grand Prix in 2021, that was a race that didn't actually run. So in the last race that actually ran properly and they got a podium, it was at this same track. But well done to Carlos, and he's so happy.
Yeah, it's so nice to hear him so happy and yeah, bringing back the smooth operator. But he, after last year had such success with Ferrari, moving to Williams, everyone questioned whether it was the right move, but he seems to have found his family there.
Yeah, he has. That was so pleasing, because he's had a tough time with Williams, not scored well until now, but this will make a big difference. Max Verstappen is celebrating, and quite right. He has dominated the event, and that's 2 events in a row now that he has absolutely dominated. What he did in Monza was astonishing, and what he's done this weekend, absolutely superb. And I still feel, I don't know about you, Abby, but so much of it was that one lap in qualifying where he put in that pole with people around him who were actually not going to be a major threat, and he was just able to totally control the race from that point.
Yeah, well, in qualifying he spoke about rhythm. Everyone was out of sync, out of rhythm, and he actually played into his favour, and he made the most of that one lap that he had, and then for the rest of the race it was smooth sailing. It's kind of two very, very similar weekends from Monza to here in Baku.
Yeah, and now we're just seeing Carlos Sainz clambering out of the Williams, and it's so great for the Spanish driver now in his 222nd Grand Prix, and of course he's had podiums before in his career. He's had several podiums, 27 podiums, so this is number 28, but just look at him go.
God, that was a 100-metre record, I think, 100-metre sprint. He's jumped into the arms of his team. It's so nice to hear them celebrating with him his first podium with the team.
That's lovely to see. I haven't seen Carlos be quite that fired up for quite a while. And of course, remember, he and Max Verstappen were teammates when they first started in Formula One, and it was fun to see them on the front row together. George Russell's having a slightly more gentle run.
I was going to say not quite as energetic as Carlos, but also, as he said on the radio, he's been ill all week, so that's a really great result from the Mercedes crew. Yeah,
he's done extremely well, and he's had some podiums already this year. No great surprise. 6 podiums up to now, so it's podium number 7 for him, and he delivered that really well, and the strategy was excellent, so that was good news. Further down the order, of course, well done to Liam Lawson, getting his best result to date, finishing in 5th place. That's one better than he's ever had before, and still in his first full season, although he's competed previous seasons a few times just to replace drivers. Behind Lawson was Tsunoda, and that is still actually a good result for Yuki Tsunoda, who has struggled with Red Bull over the time that he has joined the team earlier this year. So things have gone slightly better for him this weekend, and let's see whether Yuki Tsunoda can complete that and continue it in the future. And it is his best result here at Baku. Lando Norris, though, I'm still a bit surprised that he ended up down in 7th place. Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc 8th and 9th, even though we know the Ferraris were quick. And Isaac Hadjar, he's being consistent in scoring points, and it means that Racing Bulls had both drivers scoring points yet again.
Yeah, but we just saw shots of him, and I think he looks a bit ejected. He is a bit disappointed with that. A lot of the ground really for him was track position being lost on the first few laps. We are hearing Alex Albon coming over to his teammate Carlos Sainz, congratulating him. Alex Albon finishing P15, obviously Carlos Sainz, and rounding out the podium being P3.
Yeah, a bit of a difference, wasn't it? But it was from the front and the back, because Albon was on the back row, and it's always almost impossible to move up that well. We didn't actually, I don't think we really saw anybody shoot up the order from further back. Bortoletto was 11th in the end. Let's hear from our top 3 talking to James Hinchcliffe.
Carlos Sainz, a brilliant qualifying lap yesterday set you up for a podium finish today. Your first for Williams. You said on the radio on the way in, best moment of your career. Just tell us what this moment means to you.
Honestly, I cannot describe how happy I am, how good this feels. Tastes even better than my first ever podium that I did. We've been fighting hard all year, and finally today we just proved that when we have the speed, we've had it all year, and everything comes together. We can do some amazing things together, and today we nailed the race, not one mistake, and we managed to beat a lot of cars that yesterday I wasn't expecting to beat.
We talked a little bit earlier in the week about how you've had pace at a lot of the races in the last few. It's just been a failure to convert for a various amount of reasons. How proud are you of yourself on track and the team, of course, for their ability to convert from a strategy standpoint today? Yeah,
I'm extremely proud of everyone at Williams for pushing through a very difficult year. I think we've proven to everyone the massive step that we took compared to last year. We are on the rise. We are on the right direction. Unfortunately, with me, we've had a lot of bad luck, a lot of incidents, very difficult to convert all that pace into results. But now I understand why it all happened, because the first podium needed to come like this. And it's just life, life just sometimes brings you those bad moments to give you a very nice one. And this tastes much better than any other thing that I was expecting. So just life lesson, no? To keep believing, keep trusting yourselves, your team around you, your procedures, everything that you're doing, because sooner or later it always pays off.
Cool. Well, go enjoy with your team. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
P2 for George Russell today. You said before the race that a podium was a possibility, and you had incredible pace on those hards. We even heard you preempt a message from the pit wall to extend that stint. Was that the key today to get ahead of Carlos?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, congrats to Carlos and Williams. Amazing result for them. I think for us, really happy to be back on the podium. It's been a bit of a rough weekend for me personally, but the car was great. Obviously came in P4 as well, so happy with that.
You talked about a rough week for you personally, a bit under the weather. So how tough was it to sort of focus, and how are you feeling after 51 laps?
Yeah, I was pretty glad when I saw the checkered flag, to be honest. Fortunately, I felt much better today than I felt on Friday and Saturday. So, yeah, looking forward to a bit of rest now. But as I said, just happy with the results. And for us as a team, trying to beat Ferrari in the Constructors was a good step towards that.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. Go get some rest. Max, 67th win of your career, second in a row. That looked like Max 2023, as straightforward as it gets. Did it feel that easy from inside the car?
They're all a bit different, but I think this weekend has been incredible for us. Of course, last weekend was already great, but yeah, for us to win here again is just fantastic. And I think also in the race, the car was working really well on both of the compounds. We had clean air all the time, and you could then look after your tires. And yeah, it was pretty straightforward. Of course, it's not easy around here. Very windy today, so the car is always moving around a lot. But yeah, of course, incredibly happy with this performance.
After the conditions we saw yesterday and all the problems in qualifying, you mentioned the wind, similar conditions today. How surprised were you that there wasn't more incidents, that you didn't have more safety cars or even a red flag? Is that the drivers just learning from yesterday, or was it maybe not as hard today?
I think in the race always you have to be a little bit more careful, right? Also with tire management and stuff, you want to make the one-stop work. So I think everyone was a bit more cautious with that anyway. Plus, of course, the compounds that we're running today, medium and hard, they weren't really used that much up until today. And that all helped. And yeah, for sure, I was happy that there were not too many safety cars.
Max, 2 wins on the trot. This Red Bull car seems to have really taken a step forward the last few weeks. Are you confident that this sort of pace, this sort of relative competitiveness can continue all the way to the end of the season?
Difficult to say at the moment, but for sure the last 2 race weekends have been amazing for us. Singapore, a completely different challenge again with the high down first. So we'll see what we can do there.
All right, well, best of luck. Congratulations on the win.
A brilliant performance by Max Verstappen this weekend, taking pole position and taking the victory at Baku, with George Russell finishing in second, Carlos Sainz in third, with Antonelli fourth, Lawson fifth and Tsunoda in sixth place. In terms of the championship, Piastri crashing out and Lando Norris only finishing in seventh, not gaining as many points on his teammate as he would have liked. And for McLaren, it wasn't the perfect weekend. They did not wrap up the Constructors' Championship either, but it has been a remarkable weekend. Here on Sports Extra, we are looking forward to the Premier League battle between Bournemouth and Newcastle coming up in just a short space of time. This is an IMG production for Radio 5 Live.